Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base Color Guard team presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Pastor Jonathan Falwell Sr. from the Thomas Road Baptist Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, offers our invocation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, today we thank you for bringing us to this place to enjoy this time together. We thank you for the weather that it's cleared up. We pray that you would continue to do that. God, we pray for the drivers today. Protect them and guide them as they drive this track. But most of all, Lord, today we thank you for the gift of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross, was buried, and rose again the third day that we might have life. Thank you, God, for this day. And we pray this prayer in the matchless name of Jesus. Amen.
And here to perform our national anthem, please welcome North Carolina State Marching Band, the Power Sound of the South.
Drivers climbing into their cars. When we come back, they'll fire the engines from Martinsville Short Track Racing. Welcome to NBCSN's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Racing from Martinsville, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech. We hope Blake Shelton is able to bring back the sunshine. That was a big question mark at the start of the day as there was rain in the area. NASCAR and the track here at Martinsville has done a spectacular job getting this track ready for racing. Up front, Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. starting on the front row. Really opposite ends of the spectrum on season so far. Joey Logano 6 wins, Martin Truex Jr. only 1, but they will bring the field to the green flag.
No question of Martin Truex and his team. They feel like they're underdogs. Nobody's paying attention to them. But, they feel like they're championship contenders. They've shown it, not like Joey has. They've been consistent. They've been fast. They believe they can win this championship. Yeah, the big question now is Joey Logano. He swept all of last round. He sat on the pole here. Can this momentum continue? Can he make Martinsville the first race to guarantee himself a shot at Homestead?
Joey Logano liked the feeling after he was able to win the first race of round 2. Maybe he can do it in round 3. Let's go for the command.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your grand marshals, 7-time NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion and longtime Goody spokesperson, the King, Richard Petty, and Circle K Southeast Director of Marketing, Tom Harmon.
Start your engines!
They're giving you the command here. We're saving fuel. We're saving fuel early.
43 cars have come to life. We are just moments away from short track racing from Martinsville Speedway, Sprint Cup Series. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Castrol GTX Magnatech. Instant protection from the moment you start. Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And by McDonald's. I'm loving it. Joey Logano will sweep round 2.
When you start this round, you look at it and say, how do we get to fast forward here and be able to race for a championship at Homestead?
Things are going to only intensify in this round in order to get to Homestead. Everybody's willing to take it a little bit further. Everybody's a little bit closer to that edge.
Feels like everybody's kind of laying it all out there.
The playoffs, everyone knew the nerves would be at its highest.
Advance and survive, period.
Engines are fired, cars still sitting on pit road, about to roll out onto the track. Welcome back. Sprint Cup Series racing from Martinsville, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech. Crowd filling in on this overcast day as we take a look at the starting grid for today's race. Up front, Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. Logano has now swept the poles at Martinsville in 2015.
And we see in row 2, A.J. Allmendinger with his best start on an oval in 2015, and Jamie McMurray.
Row 3 is made up of Jeff Gordon, 8-time Martinsville winner, starting alongside Kyle Busch, who, because of his injuries from Daytona, did not get to run Martinsville in the spring.
Back in row 4, another Martinsville winner, 2012 Martinsville winner, Ryan Newman.
In row 5, another driver did not race in Martinsville in the spring, and Kyle Larson, starting next to 5-time Martinsville winner, Denny Hamlin.
Row 6 is made up of Brad Keselowski, who is the runner-up here in the spring, alongside Kevin Harvick, the 2011 Martinsville winner.
Field is full of guys who have won at this track. 3-time Martinsville winner back in row 7 with Tony Stewart.
And 2-time Martinsville winner in row 8, Kurt Busch, starting next to his teammate Danica Patrick.
Row 9 is Clint Bowyer and Matt Kenseth.
Back in row 10, Casey Mears, top 10 in the happy hour yesterday, looking very strong for that team. Let's see if we can talk to the hottest driver in the Sprint Cup Series, Joey Logano. He is going to lead the field to the green flag. Let's catch him on the radio.
Hey Joey, it's NBCSN booth. You with us?
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right, man. 3 wins in a row and now a pole. Can any of these other teams beat you guys?
Well, they're tough, that's for sure. It's not easy to do it. Anytime you come to Martinsville, nothing's easy. But I know I got a really good team. I got a really good car once again. And we keep executing the way we've been doing it. I feel good about it.
All right, you talked about executing. Tell us about Martinsville and what you have to do to win this race.
Everything right. This is one of those racetracks that, there's going to be a time that you're going to have to battle some adversity. Strategy usually gets jumbled up at some point. It's all about keeping your head cool, remembering that it's possibly a 500-lap race, maybe shorter today. But, I think just keep it cool and then making sure you get the best finish out of this thing no matter what happens.
Joey, thank you for taking time to spend some time with us and the fans. Have a good day.
10-4. Thanks, guys. Have fun.
They're going to take a few extra moments to make sure they get pit road dried off, because the stage when the drivers are being introduced to the crowd here was sitting right in the middle of pit road. So they're going to work on that, and that has stopped the cars on the backstretch, but they're rolling once again. We're going to ride along with a few different drivers today, one of those being the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has the nationwide in-car camera with him as he starts 22nd. Kurt Busch also carrying one of our cameras, the Sprint on board. He'll start 15th. It'll be interesting to watch those two work their way through the back of the field. Kevin Harvick and the Outback Steakhouse in-car camera will start 12th today. The Goodyear on board with Brad Keselowski starting 11th, back in row 6. In row 3, Kyle Busch and the Toyota onboard camera will start 6th today. Jeff Gordon in his final Martinsville start with the AARP onboard camera starts 5th. And Joey Logano, we just chatted with him, will start on the pole. He will most definitely choose that inside line. He has the Ford in-car camera with him. 2x2 once again rolling around the track. There will be a competition caution around lap 45 for these teams. We want to take a look at today's Sunoco fuel strategy. 500 laps, 263 miles, pit road speed crawling 30 miles per hour, and that fuel window, Steve, 140 to 150 laps.
Yeah, and that fuel window is really a rough guess, because at Martinsville, the way these tires fall off in this short track, and only a half mile, the window could even be bigger than that. It wouldn't shock me to see some of these cars try to go 160 laps if the opportunity presented itself and help them get to the finish.
Let's get some final thoughts from pit road before the green flag comes out. We'll start with Kelly Stavast.
Kyle Busch has never won at Martinsville, and he missed the race here earlier this year as he recovered from injury, but he said he didn't think that would hold him back today. Instead, he's been leaning on his JGR teammates, especially Denny Hamlin, who has won here 5 times. It seems to be paying off early. Kyle Busch will start 6th today in pursuit of his first ever grandfather clock. Marty?
Well, Kelly, Jeff Gordon certainly knows the magnitude of today's race. He has won here at Martinsville 8 times, and he also knows that if he's going to advance to Homestead with a win automatically, this may be his best shot to do that here at Martinsville this afternoon. He also talked about in the pre-race a moment ago keeping it clean on pit road. The last 2 Martinsville races, Jeff Gordon's had a speeding penalty on pit road that took him out of a shot at the win. If he can keep it clean on the racetrack and on pit road today in his final season, Jeff Gordon could be racing for a championship at Homestead. Dave?
Marty, reigning champion Kevin Harvick can't stay true to every single route that got him there. For instance, this pit box they'll use today, not exactly what he used in the short tracks of Southern California. But one thing that has stayed with Kevin, his abilities on the short track like this at Martinsville Speedway. Crew Chief Rodney Childers told me this morning he's good at it, he gets it, he's among the best there is at this kind of track, and it could advance him to the 4th round, the championship round of the championship. Mike?
You know, Dave, after sweeping round 2 of the playoffs, Joey Logano was asked if he thought about buying a lottery ticket. Now, Logano scoffed at the question and said simply, I don't believe in luck. I believe in hard work. Well, that hard work has certainly paid off. He's on the pole here again today and is in position to do something that has not been done since Jimmy Johnson did it in 2007. That's win 4 races in a row. His crew chief Todd Gordon told me the approach will not change in this particular round. The focus is still on getting to victory lane. Rick?
Thanks, Mike. Brad Keselowski on the radio just moments ago about the complications getting off pit road.
But it's difficult to not have a wreck leaving our pit box while trying to pay attention to pit exit and seeing who's around the corner and trying to predict when they're going to drop their jacks. So, I mean, I'll do what I can, but it's a 50-50 crapshoot.
Yeah, there's a lot going on even for these spotters. That was the spotter talking, Rick. You know, not only do they have to care about their car on the racetrack, but on pit road here at Martinsville, it's very, very difficult. And you see where the 2 cars pitting, that's pit stall 13. That's kind of end of the front stretch. It seems like it'd be pretty simple, but when he leaves there, he has to go down into this very tight, very sharp corner on pit road. And you think it's narrow now. You see a couple cars, maybe the 20, the 19, as you go farther around, the 70 and the 22. As they get down their pit stop and blend back out, that narrow pit road gets even narrower.
Very relevant, especially with this team because of last year. Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch on pit road, and right here you're going to see the 41 and the 2 get into it. That ends up doing so much damage to the 2, they take the front of that car off, but then the paybacks are on.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski thought the 41 had an opportunity to give him a little bit of room on pit road. The 41 obviously disagreed. He tried to rough the 41 up a little bit, but it wasn't enough because Kurt Busch, man, he was really good that day, held off a hard charge of Jimmy Johnson for the win.
Even after some contact on pit road, Kurt Busch able to stay in front of the field, get the win at Martinsville, collect the clock. 2 by 2, they work their way around the track as drying still continuing on pit road to make sure pit road is dry.
This is going to be a tough balance, Rick, for these race teams, for these drivers and crew chiefs, because not only do we have a relatively green racetrack with the rain, there's no rubber there, it's going to be hard on the tires, but there's no guarantee we're going to go 500 laps. With this drizzle in the area, these teams are going to have to really play the odds. How hard do you want to run, Jeff? Do you think it's a 250 lap race, or do you gamble and take your time for all 500 laps?
I think track position is so important that if we start seeing cautions because of a little bit of a weather issue, when you pitted, are you going to be back at the tail end of the line? Are people going to stay out? So those pit strategy issues, they become more important to call it right. And also mistakes, if you have a rain-shortened race, those mistakes are bigger because you don't have as much time to make it up. So with rain in the area, I think from lap 1, all these drivers, all the teams, they have to be fully focused and make no mistakes.
The advertised distance is 500 laps. It does become official once they pass the halfway point. So if we get to that and rain does come, it could be considered an official race. I want to take a look at some of Jeff Gordon's milestones here at Martinsville, brought to you by AARP. 45 starts, 8 wins. He and his teammate, Jimmy Johnson, have 8 wins. Top 5s, top 10s, laps led, all incredible numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to come here in 2005, very early in my crew chiefing career with Jeff Gordon, and get my first ever win as a crew chief. He's very, very good around here. He's patient. He understands the opportunities you have to pass and when you need to take those opportunities. So He's definitely, I mean, he has to have this track circled. This has to be his best chance in my mind. Between here, Texas, and Phoenix, this is his best chance to advance to Homestead.
And even as good as Jeff Gordon is, this racetrack is so difficult. He had to learn how to be good here. He had to come and spend a tremendous amount of time testing, spending effort to get good at this racetrack. This is a very, very difficult racetrack for everyone.
So you notice, if you're a student of the sport, you see the lights are off already on the pace car. That means that when they come back by the start-finish line, they're going to start this race. The green flag is going to come out, but it's going to be a green and yellow situation. What that means is they will start counting laps because there's still just a little bit of drying that has to take place. You see a jet dryer still on the track. There's still some work going on pit road, but NASCAR has seen the situation that we're in with the weather in the area. We heard it from a few different drivers about them thinking about weather could come into play. They want to make sure that this gets underway and we start counting laps.
Well, one thing you have to be very careful about, and what makes Martinsville very unique, are the curves. You know, we see curving at road courses, but not at ovals. Well, here at Martinsville, that pink strip you see right there, where the depth of it might be hard to understand from this view, that's a 5-6 inch deep pink curve, but it's also painted. And what we've seen here in the past, Jeff, is when it rains, some moisture can gather, and that's an area the cars run right along that curb, and if there's any moisture on the paint, it can become very slick.
Yeah, that's right. The drivers are going to be on that paint. It's almost impossible to stay off the curb early in the race. You're going to stop it when they drop the green flag. You know, cars are side by side. The guys on the outside lane are pushing the guys on the inside lane next to the curb. So NASCAR taking a little bit of extra time. This isn't unusual. We've seen NASCAR do this in the past. This is something when they have weather in the area, when they have an issue like this, sometimes they'll go ahead and drop the green flag even though it's under caution. This is nothing new.
Marty.
And Rick, Jeff Gordon said, I'm not going to give my thumbs up that the track is ready until they take care of that issue off of 2. What we saw a moment ago, that water in essence puddling right by the curb that you guys talked about. Joey Meyer told Brad Keselowski, that's his spotter, he said, hey, listen, it's going to be there all day long. You're going to have to deal with it. So that's going to change, Jeff, maybe the line you have to take, especially early in this race as a driver, isn't it? Knowing there's a little water down there by the curb at the bottom of exit of turn 2.
Yeah, that's right. You know, these tires, they just will not work on water. You know, they're slicks. They do not have treads on them. So any water at all will require, it will make the rear tires have slip, make the front tires not work very well. So a little bit of water in a short period of time is no big deal because the cars will go over it so quickly. But the longer the water is in the corner, the harder it is to deal with. So NASCAR's just going to take a little bit of extra time. It's a little harder here too because you know there's grass. There's grass between the inside wall and the curb in the corners, and that grass retains that water. It's hard to keep that water from coming off of the dirt and onto the racetrack.
An incredible accomplishment that Joey Logano is looking to try to add his name to the list of drivers that have won 4 consecutive races in a season. We look back since 1976, very impressive names on this list that if Joey Logano can add his name to the list, I mean, we're talking about heroes. Cale Yarborough on this list, Jeff.
Yeah, and I think Joey Logano has done it in a time where it's different than it's ever been. I'm not saying it's harder, it's better, it's worse. I'm not saying anything other than the fact that he dominated around. You know, we have a postseason now. We have the playoffs, and he took off and just dominated this last round. Put his stamp on it, said, this is my championship to win, won every race. I mean, just, you know, you're going to have to come take it from me. And did that in a playoff situation with the pressure high. So I think this makes it a little bit different.
And you look back the last time it happened with Jimmy Johnson back in 2007, that's 8 years ago. And prior to that, it was Jeff Gordon back in the 90s. So it's been quite a long time since someone has been able to win 4 consecutive races in the Sprint Cup Series, and Joey Logano very close to being able to accomplish that goal. You can watch a live stream of every Sprint Cup Series race, combined with additional camera angles, interactive driver stats, and track information. That's with NBC Sports Live Extra. It's available on your laptop, tablet, smartphone, and connected TVs. That's NBC Sports Live Extra. Brings you closer to every race. And especially short track racing, we bring you closer because the drivers are going to be closer. Bumping, banging, games played on restarts, getting into the turns. What's the best place to pass at this racetrack? How do you set a driver up, Jeff?
Well, the way you set a driver up is the pass starts on corner exit. You have to make time to the middle of the corner, do a better job of leaving the corner than they are by having rear grip, by having front turn and then you turn underneath him, leaving the corner. And you're probably, unless the guy messes up, you're really never going to be door-to-door with him. You've got to show him that the spot is yours. You got to get your right front fender to his left rear quarter panel and give him a choice. You either lift or you'll get spun out.
A little more track drying taking place, a little more drying on pit road. We're going to take a quick break and be back for the green flag. Welcome back to Martinsville. The teams have been told the drivers are ready. The pace car about to make its way off the track as we get ready for the first race of round 3. It's short track racing, a half-mile racetrack. Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr. won the front row qualifying on Friday. The 2 practices on Saturday, it was Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. that looked the best. They're mired back in the middle of this field coming out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Martinsville. The preferred line right along the curve.
Right there trying to work his way to the bottom. He knows that he does not find a line or a way to get to the bottom. This line on the bottom will move him way to the back. So he's fighting the 24 hard to try to get to the bottom of the racetrack.
NASCAR has told the teams that competition caution that was scheduled for around lap 45 has now been moved to around lap 50.
Martin Truex Jr. didn't waste any time. He got a good run in the middle of 1 and 2, carried that run down to turn 3 and got by the 22 car.
Early on, we already heard, sounded like the 78 getting on the chip as he was going into turn 3. A clean track in front of the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. as he's out front of the field at Martinsville. That will only be for a few more laps. Points so important, positions worth 1 point apiece. Martin Truex Jr. after leading a lap now has a bonus point.
Kyle underneath Kurt Busch. I'm surprised Kurt didn't lift really early and just go ahead and get behind his brother to make sure he got back in line, which he's doing now.
2 brothers in the chase, still with a shot at the title. Kurt Busch in the 41, Kyle Busch in the 18.
I'm not sure there's a racetrack we go to where more doesn't change from new tires to old tires. You can start these tire pressures so low because of the flat corners and the low speeds that you have to actually wait for the air pressures to come up, a little temperature in your tires before you get grip, and then as soon as you think you have grip, they start to get hot and slimy and you lose grip again.
And just to add to that complication, the track had rain on it, the track's cleaned off, there's not much rubber on it. This racetrack also changes a great deal when it's cold and it's hot. So, you know, this is the worst the track's going to be, in my opinion. Right now, it's the slickest it's going to be. The teams and drivers are going to have to adjust to it.
Mike, what's going on with that team that's out front?
And guys, we talk about the rain, and sometimes when it rains and there's moisture inside the race car, sometimes it wreaks havoc with electronic systems. Not sure if necessarily if this is the case. However, during those parade laps, Martin Truex Jr. radioed in saying the yellow lights on his tack are not operating. Now, of course, there is a series of lights, yellow, then it goes to green, and then it goes to red, which alerts a driver how close they are getting to the pit road speeding limit. And Jeff, as you know, this may be of a little bit of concern when we hit pit road later in the day.
Yeah, no question. You know, this rain has a way of causing all kinds of issues. It changes the racetrack. It changes things in the race car. It creates issues. And again, we talk about this racetrack being difficult. All these things just add that much more complication to an already difficult racetrack.
Danica Patrick holding her ground as the 19 starts to fall back. Carl Edwards stuck on the outside line, not where you want to be at Martinsville.
Yeah, Carl's struggling right now. He's going backwards quickly, and you know, as one of our championship contenders, really, I didn't think he had a very good practice yesterday. It didn't look very good, and he's working his way to the back now. Did a good job of getting in front of his teammate Matt Kenseth to kind of stop the bleeding, so to speak. The cars were getting by him, but he's struggling right now.
Jump back in line behind the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Carl Edwards has fallen all the way back to 19th. Dave?
And Rick, I felt the way Jeff did about practice, so I asked crew chief Darian Grubb this morning about their day yesterday, and he was pretty confident about it. But as you see, a challenge for the lead from Allmendinger on the rear bumper of the 78 of Truex. He said he didn't think there'd be a problem. Getting down to that inside line was the biggest issue for the 19 to start the day.
How about the move by A.J. Allmendinger? Looking at the inside of that 78 of Martin Truex Jr.
Well, I think Martin Truex has a decision to make here. A.J. Allmendinger, a non-chaser, very aggressive early. You see him enter the corner up about a lane, turn down across the bumper of the 78, try to get that run. He's peeked to the inside a couple times. The 78 has closed the door. We've seen this before. Martin Truex is going to have to really make hard decisions of how aggressive he wants to block this 47.
And early on, we've just completed our 20th lap of 500. So how hard do you race? Is there patience that come into play early on in a race?
Well, to Steve points, A.J. Allmendinger, he doesn't care. He's going to race as hard as he wants to. You know, he's not in his championship contention. A win would be huge for he and his team. So he's a little bit on a different agenda. He's going to push hard. He wants this lead. He's going to be extremely aggressive. Martin Truex, he's going to have to think about it because A.J. is coming hard, and he isn't going to mind pushing.
Clint Bowyer, Casey Mears on the inside, and Denny Hamlin, a 5-time winner at Martinsville. In that 11, he falls behind Casey Mears. That was a battle for the 12th spot. Martin Truex Jr. leading at Martinsville. Welcome back to Goody's Headache Relief Shot 500 from Martinsville. NASCAR Mobile is the best way to follow your favorite drivers. You can build your own leaderboards or listen to driver in-car audio and watch live in-car cameras. Just go to NASCAR.com/mobile. Joe Logano looking at the inside of that 47 of A.J. Allmendinger, Marty.
And Rick, when I asked A.J. Allmendinger the goal for today, he told me all 500 laps in a top 10 would be nice for our race team. But this 47 team racing with a bit of a heavy heart as A.J. loses another spot. Mark Bieberich, who's a longtime crew member in the garage area, been with many race teams, was a front-end mechanic for the 47 team, passed away on Wednesday of this week at just the age of 42. He leaves behind a couple of children, so they're racing with a little extra motivation on this 47 team. Would love to put this car in victory lane for their friend. We're all thinking and praying for the Bieberich family, Rick.
Absolutely. Difficult. The teams become so close, it's a family. I mean, each NASCAR team is its own family, and when you lose a family member, it's very hard.
Yeah, really, the entire garage is the same way. Why you have to compete against other teams. You know, you got to remember, every day, wherever you're in the country, when the garage opens on Friday morning, it's the same group of people you travel with, you see. It makes it very, very difficult.
On the left side of your screen, you're going to see chase points as they run. The unique thing about this week, next week, and the following week is what we're doing is cutting the field in half. We will eliminate 4 drivers, which means only 4 will have a shot at that championship in Homestead at the end of the season. Now Kurt Busch is able to get by the 47 of A.J. Allmendinger, the 18 of Kyle Busch, as we see Joey Logano make the pass on the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. Logano in front of Truex Jr. once again.
And this is normal Martinsville. You'll see a guy on new tires jump out to a lead like Martin Truex did. Joey Logano settled in, though, worked on his car, continued to take care of the tires. And now that we're 29 laps into the run, he has a little more speed than 78. He was able to get back by him. I'm looking at the 24. Right behind the 78 of Martin Truex Jr. is Jeff Gordon. He seems to be consistently running fast laps, trying to work his way towards the front.
Going by the 26. It's J.J. Yaley driving the 26 this week. Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Jeff Gordon, the top 3. Then it's Jamie McMurray, Kurt Busch in the top 5. A.J. Allmendinger, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman, and Kyle Larson all inside the top 10. In a competition caution will be coming out around lap 50.
And riding on board here with Jeff Gordon, you're going to see Martinsville at its finest. He's going to try to time this run on the 78 car. Enters the quarter behind him, so he's going to a little higher up the racetrack, turn to the left rear bumper of the 78, picks up the throttle, and about right here, he's going to look to the bottom. Even though he's not there, he wants the 78 just like that. To see him in the left side mirror, no, listen, man, I'm right at your bumper. I'm going to contend for that sport on corner entry. 78 wisely just gives him the opportunity to pass.
Yeah, timing is a great way to describe it. If you get to him too quickly, if you get in the center of the corner and you're gaining momentum at that point, well, the guy in front of you just slows down and slows your momentum up, and then he just launches off the corner. You can't pass. You have to carry the momentum on the exit of the corner to make the pass. The momentum on the middle is important, but if the guy in front of you slows you down, then you can't use it. So the timing of that pass is very critical.
Let's get some updates on the guys up front. We'll start with Mike Massaro.
And you know, Joey Logano's crew chief, Rick, Todd Gordon, told me this morning that obviously the focus is still on winning, but he said they're not going to do anything stupid. They're not going to jeopardize getting a good day out of this afternoon. That's why at the very beginning of this run, when the car wasn't really what Joey wanted, he backed out, allowed people to pass. He's been working on the track bar throughout the course of this run and has said the car is definitely now coming to him. Kelly?
Kurt Busch started 15th, already into the top 5. He's taken a very calculated approach to this championship. He went back and studied when Jimmie Johnson won multiple championships. Jeff Gordon, even Dale Earnhardt Sr., even though the formats are different, he decided 7 is the magic number. If your average is better than that, you've got a good shot at the championship. Right now, he's saying it's a little tight everywhere. Marty?
Kelly, last week at Talladega, Brad Keselowski had his best finish of the chase. But this week, he said, that doesn't matter. It's a new season starting at Martinsville, really focusing as if things were starting over. Initially, Keselowski, as you see, started 11th, went forward. Now he's fallen back. He scraped the wall a couple of times with a car that's pretty loose right now. Dave?
The reason Kevin Harvick has been able to pick up position since the start, wait, Rick, there's the lead again.
It comes to Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon, familiar with running out front at Martinsville, is doing it once again. Gordon leading at Martinsville. He's won here 8 times before. We knew that this may be his best opportunity if he wants to advance to the championship round in Homestead. He may have to win at Martinsville. Marty.
And guys, Jeff Gordon to the lead, as you've seen. I think it should be scary for the rest of the field that they've gotten to the lead this quickly, because they did not expect to be that good in the first half of this race. In the spring, they struggled in the first 250 laps of the race until the track started taking rubber. This track has not taken rubber all weekend long, and Alan Gustafson told me until it takes rubber, we may struggle in the first half of the race. But Jeff Gordon going forward, and he knows how big this race is. A lot of eggs in the Martinsville basket for Jeff Gordon in this 2014. They know this is their shot, their best shot to advance to Homestead.
The question now, though, Marty, is if the 24 is this good on this green racetrack, are they going to have to adjust on it? Can they stay ahead if the rubber does go down? I've had a lot of good cars early in the race here, and while it's always good to lead laps, you have to be very cautious, because this is a racetrack that's going to change a lot. Fortunately for Alan Gustafson, he has a veteran driver behind the wheel. Jeff Gordon with a lot of wins here. He's seen all the different ways you need to stay ahead of this track.
One thing that Jeff Gordon is doing is he's continuing to add laps led at Martinsville. He needs to lead 107 laps, and he will catch Cale Yarborough and then pass him if he leads 108 laps as far as most laps led at Martinsville.
Yeah, when you look at that list of all-time laps leaders here, it's a who's who of NASCAR. While Jeff Gordon's career is spectacular here, small milestones like that, I do believe, mean something to him. With his career coming to an end behind the wheel here in just a few more weeks, any record he can break is one he's going to be able to take.
Jeff Gordon out front. Joey Logano staying right on his back bumper, not giving him much room to move. And Jamie McMurray also has moved up into that top 3. McMurray running strong at Martinsville. McMurray's best finish at this track, a second. He did it 11 years ago, back in 2004. One of the iconic racetracks that Jamie McMurray hasn't won at. And this is the competition caution that NASCAR had told the teams would be coming out around lap 50. Free pass will go to the 98 of Ryan Preece. That will put 33 cars on the lead lap. Quite a few still.
Yeah, we've talked how tight this pit road is, but with 32 cars pitting, it's going to be extremely congested on pit road.
And a little further back in the pack, Jimmie Johnson, who started pretty far back, he's worked his way all the way up to 9th. So another team, like you talked about with McMurray, although they're not in the championship battle, before this day is over, I'd be surprised if Jimmie Johnson and his team weren't in contention to win this race.
And I think Carl Edwards is looking forward to this yellow, because while he started up inside the top 15, he's fallen all the way back to the 20th position. His car just hasn't looked great. They're going to have to go to work on the 19 car.
Jeff Gordon needs to make sure to keep close eye on his tachometer. He has had an issue with speeding on pit road at Martinsville. That's one thing. You can't have mistakes and still hope to win or advance into the next round.
And what's difficult right now, you have 32 cars on the lead lap. So 32 cars are coming on pit road at the same time. This pit road is going to be very, very crowded. Drivers have to be careful. Teams have to be careful. No mistakes.
A lot of congestion, and pit road is open. Here they come. We'll start off with Kelly.
Kurt Busch started a little on the tight side, but loosened up as that run went on. They're going to give him a half a round of wedge in the left rear, make an air pressure adjustment. It'll be 4 fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for Kurt Busch, who's in pursuit of his 3rd grandfather clock.
Kelly leader Jeff Gordon coming to his stall, and as you said, Rick, got to watch that tachometer. Very careful coming to pit road. He was reminded about that. The only thing Gordon said is right before the competition caution, the back end starting to swing around a little bit on entry and on exit. 4 tires, no changes for the 24, Dave.
And Marty, the biggest concern for Martin Truex Jr. right now is getting through the corner. He says it's been hopping and it's been a bit tight. They're going to make a 4-tire change and an air pressure adjustment. As for Joey Logano, also tight. He used up the rear tires. They made an air pressure adjustment, a 4-tire change in fuel on the 22.
And the first pit stall pays off for Joey Logano. He wins the race off pit road, brought to you by Geico. He'll gain a spot. Gordon drops a spot. Welcome back. Pace car has made its way off the track. Puts the field back in the hands of Joey Logano. On the inside, Jeff Gordon on the outside through the restart zone. Green flag back in the air.
Now the fight to the bottom, Rick. The preferred groove is on the bottom of the racetrack here in Martinsville. You're going to see the 24, 78, 18. All these cars in the second lane try to fight to the bottom.
On pit road, the 11 of Denny Hamlin got caught for speeding exiting pit road. Logano, Kurt Busch with a great restart. Moves up to second. Jeff Gordon slid back behind him in third. Jamie McMurray and Martin Truex Jr. the top 5.
See Kurt putting a lot of pressure on Joey. Joey early in the race wasn't as good as he was later in the run. So Kurt probably took notice of that and knows he needs to go right now to try to get Joey while he has low air pressure.
Starting to see a little bit of the tire debris. We call it the marbles on the outside of the groove as the bumper put to the back of the 22 of Joey Logano. Kurt Busch aggressive early in this run to the inside, and Kurt Busch will lead at Martinsville. Every point counts. Now Kurt Busch adds his name to the list of drivers, chase drivers that have been at front at Martinsville. Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch have all led a lap today. And what a year Kurt Busch has had. Missing the first 3 races to start the season.
It's really been amazing. I give the tip of hat to not only Kurt Busch behind the wheel, but Tony Gibson on top of the pit box. I think this combination, Tony Gibson is as old school and rough and tumbled as they come. He isn't going to take any slack from a driver. He's going to force a driver to be professional, to do what he needs behind the steering wheel. I think that's exactly what Kurt Busch has needed, and he's really showed up. You see with his left hand there, reach over, Rick, flip some blowers on. These drivers are going to be working those blowers over the course of all these runs.
You'll take off. You'll typically take off with all the brake blowers off. You want to build some heat in the brakes, so you'll leave those fans off as you get longer into a run, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 laps. Then you'll get all those fans turned on.
Jeff Gordon has fallen back to third. He was right behind the 41 of Kurt Busch. This is what he had to say on the radio about that team.
I can't wait to see how this works out for Kurt. He is flying. Let's see how long it lasts.
So seeing it early that 41 was strong early in the run.
And what Jeff Gordon means right there is the reason he's so good here is he has a very patient approach to these runs. He's running not way less than 100%, but saving tire, conserving tire. There's a strategy to his run. Only run as hard as he needs to. Save that left rear tire under acceleration. It sounds to me that he thought that the 41 was running awfully hard from the drop of the green on this run.
There's also different setups also. Some setups allow a team to take off, a driver to take off fast, but then it isn't as good at the end of the run. So the driver can make a change in how he approaches this race, but also the setup of the race car in many cases determines what the driver's strategy has to be.
Jeff, is this the busiest racetrack as a driver that you are in that car? Because we heard about turning blowers on and off. Then you've also got track bar adjustments that you can make. Are you constantly making adjustments to the car from in the cockpit?
Well, you are, and there's a lot going on around you all the time too. Here in Bristol, the 2 tracks that there's the most going on, you're always in traffic. The track's short. You're always in a corner. You always have to make decisions quickly. So without a doubt, this and Bristol are the two most busy racetracks for the drivers.
Well, and it's not just busy on the racetrack, it's busy on pit road. Remember, when this caution came out at lap 50, Jeff Gordon was the leader. And you see here, sitting in his pit box, Matt Kenseth. That is a spectacular job by Matt Kenseth to get as far out of Jeff Gordon's way as possible. But you see when Jeff Gordon leads, still how much he has to turn to the right. The engine almost dies as he comes around the corner. Joey Logano pit stall 1. He gets to leave straight. So even with Matt Kenseth, and a tip of the hat to Matt Kenseth, doing a great job trying to help the 24 and being a good neighbor, it still hurts your time on pit road. It goes all the way back to qualifying, Rick.
Kurt Busch, the 37-year-old out of Las Vegas, Nevada, leading at Martinsville. Get the ultimate pass to every moment of today's NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race with Race Buddy. You can ride along with different drivers through multiple HD feeds and follow the race action with a live leaderboard. Tune in at NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. Kurt Busch still out front. He has now led 17 laps. Truex Jr. 27, Logano 22. Jeff Gordon was out front for 10 laps. Let's see who's on the move. Brought to you by TireRack.com. Tony Stewart has made up 21 spots.
Yeah, both Tony Stewart and Casey Kane in backup cars. Jimmy Johnson, he's all the way up to 4th. He's put a very impressive run on from maybe a disappointing qualifying position.
Kurt Busch trying to keep that 41 out in front of Joey Logano. Kurt Busch with Tony Gibson as the crew chief. They call him Old Man, and that's been his nickname for quite some time. He's not really an old man, but that's been the nickname in the garage and with all of his competitors and teammates for many, many years.
Yeah, Tony Gibson taught me a lot about racing when he was the car chief at the 24 car. I was a mechanic and worked underneath Tony Gibson. He's been in the sport a long time. He taught me a lot about racing, about not just shocks and springs, but how things are supposed to be done, how you approach the weekend, how you prepare. A lot can be learned from a man like that.
And now we're seeing a trend right now where Joey Logano is obviously not great when the run takes off, but as the run goes, he gets better and better. And of course, Jeff Gordon running in 3rd, we saw earlier in the run, he was better toward the end of the first run. So it's going to be interesting to see if those trends continue. Many times they do. Many times you'll have a car that's very fast on long runs, but not very good on the short run. If that continues, at some point during the day, as you see him looking, Kurt's not going to give it to him, though.
And we saw Jeff Gordon, who's very experienced at this racetrack, make the comment about Kurt Busch. I'd like to see where this is going to end up, because he knew that he was fast for a few laps and at the beginning of a run, but how is he going to be for the long run? Remember, we can go between 150 and 160 laps on fuel at this track.
But let's be clear, Kurt Busch didn't know either. Kurt Busch didn't know if his car was going to be good at the end of a long run. All he knew is his car was fast, and he wanted to take advantage of that speed and go get the lead. Now he's learning, what can my car do? Early in the race, he was in the middle of traffic. He wasn't as clean as he was in the early part of the race, or is now rather. So he pushed his car. He needs to know what his car can do. He knew his car was faster than Joey, so he went and took the lead. Now he knows Joey is better, so now he has to start thinking, okay, I need to conserve my tires a little bit. I need to take care of my car a little bit and start working to make the car better for a long run. But we haven't been in this situation before. It rained. You cannot simulate a race in practice. You try. So these teams are learning as this race goes on also.
84 laps complete. How's Jeff Gordon doing, Marty?
You know, Rick, it's funny when I asked him in the pre-race if he could pick one racetrack where he had to go get a win, which racetrack would it be? No doubt. He said Martinsville, #1 on the list, and you can see why. This is the part of the run where Jeff Gordon was so good earlier on. We'll see if he can gain some ground on that 22 and 41 cars. He said the car really lost the rear tires on that last one, and that left rear didn't look so great when it came off the 24 last time, Mike.
You know, back in the spring, Martin Truex Jr. turned in a solid top 10 finish here at Martinsville, finishing 6th. But this week, he said, looking back, we were decent, but we needed to be a lot better. I spoke with his crew chief, Cole Pern, earlier today. He told me they had to work on just about everything, drivability, speed, and they figured it out on Saturday. They feel like they've got a pretty good race car. They were a little tight in that first run, but pretty good now, Kelly.
Kyle Busch started 6th, has dropped a few spots. Remember, he missed the race earlier this year, and all 4 of his Joe Gibbs Racing teammates, David Reagan, who was filling in for him at the time, ran inside the top 5, so you knew he'd have to lean on him for this race today. But he admitted he didn't know how helpful Denny Hamlin would be after getting knocked out of the chase. Well, crew chief Adam Stevens said he's been extremely helpful. He took the time to send emails to Kyle and Adam, unsolicited, offering his help. Said he's gone over and above and doing everything he can to help us out. Dave?
Kelly, on that first run, Carl Edwards started on the outside line, which is not good here, and then his car had that spinning out feeling, which made it really hard to hustle. So on that first pit stop, they gave him a big chassis adjustment and air pressure adjustment. To be expected, it was a little bit tight at the start of this run, and now he says it feels like the front tires are giving up a little bit. Still, he's picked up position since the restart, Rick.
Yeah, Carl Edwards up to 15th. All the chase drivers in the top 15, led by Joey Logano, out front once again at Martinsville. Welcome back to Martinsville. We look at the fastest lap turn today, presented by Sprint. It's A.J. Allmendinger turning a lap at 19.860 seconds. Stop in at Sprint, cut your rate plan in half. Just bring in your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and turn in that old phone. Brad Keselowski behind the 20 now. Just moments ago, a little bit of a hand gesture to the 20 of Matt Kenseth. This isn't the one of, yeah, it's okay to go by, though, I don't believe.
You see the 20 underneath him.
Inside, come all behind him.
Runs him a little bit. Brad gets his hand out the window like, why are you running over me? What are you doing? But that's Martinsville. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's not like Matt's way up the racetrack. It's just really tight, very narrow, and Brad thought Matt could have been a little easier on him.
It blows my mind how they're in the middle of the corner and Brad decides to stick his hand out the window like, hey, I know we're racing, but come on.
And to be clear, Matt can't see that either. just so you know.
Marty.
And just for what Brad said on the radio, guys, real quickly, he said, boy, Matt dove it in there awfully quick, didn't he? That happens often here at Martinsville, isn't it, Jeff?
Well, it does. And, you know, when you have a fast car and you see an opening, you got to go for it. Matt Kenseth is moving forward. He's worked himself up to 5th place. So he has a fast race car. And you see both these guys have just got by Jimmy Johnson. We saw Jimmy charging to the front, but now he's struggling a little bit. So that's typical Martinsville. Really good on short runs, not so good on long runs, maybe good in the middle, maybe not. That is typical Martinsville.
If you leave Martinsville and nobody thinks you were mean to them or rude to them all day long, you either ran bad or broke early. Because if you ran anywhere in the top 5 or 8 or 10, at some point you had to take a position for somebody that they didn't want to see, to just see the yellow lights on, the cautions on the racetrack.
Cautions out for the 46. Michael Annett up the racetrack out of the groove. And he was stopped up there. NASCAR deemed that dangerous, and the caution has come out. Looks as though Ryan Preece in the 98 is going to receive the free pass. And we will have 32 on the lead lap. A.J. Allmendinger, we mentioned earlier, A.J. had run the fastest lap at under 20 seconds. The laps in that last run, anywhere from high 20s to low 21-second laps. Is that being cautious and not wearing out your tires, or is that how much the tires wear out and the fastest that they can go?
That's it. That's as fast as these guys can go, this left rear tire. And I keep saying the left rear because the way you drive this corner, you kind of go in, you push the middle, and as you power up, that left rear tire really drives you off the corner. And as that tire wears out, you just lose all rear grip.
Michael Annett was running 32nd. And around he goes. No contact with that outside wall.
This is the other issue. Why do tempers flare at Martinsville? Because when you get into somebody and spin them up the racetrack, they come in, get some 4 tires, and they keep going. No one gets a week to cool off. You're going to see him again here very shortly.
And we talked about pit road penalties. Denny Hamlin had one on the first round of pit stops. Took him that entire time just to get back to 23rd. That's how important pit stops are. You cannot have penalties.
Quite a few on pit road, Kelly.
Kurt Busch led laps that last stint. Once again, he started off tight, then got loose, in and off. Still a little bit tight through the center. They're going to go back on the wedge adjustment they made to the left rear, make a wedge adjustment to the right rear, and it'll be 4 Goodyear tires for the 41, Marty.
Kelly, a 45-lap green flag run for these leaders. Jeff Gordon said his car was a little bit snug in the center, but it was working. He was really moving those last couple of laps. He said he was really trying to save the rears. It was so temperamental, Dave.
4th to 3rd place for Kevin Harvick in the 4 car from 8th. No changes on the 4 car, just 4 Goodyear tires and fuel, Mike.
Joey Logano saying his car's just a little bit tight. They're going to make a chassis adjustment, 4 tires and fuel as he races his way off pit road.
Ryan Preece is not going to get the free pass. Actually, it was Michael Annett who was in position, but you can't benefit from bringing the caution out yourself. Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Martinsville, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech. Joey Logano won the race off pit road. That first pit stall definitely advantageous for the 22 team.
Yeah, you're going to be saying that a lot today, Rick. Won the race off pit road. It's just such a huge advantage here at Martinsville.
We mentioned earlier about how tight pit road is. Here's a perfect example. The 18 on pit road and their crew a little bit too close for comfort.
Yeah, you see here the tire carrier on the right front. He has the rear tire in his hand. That's the rear tire actually that the 13 hits on the way by. Now the 13 is a box in front of, not directly in front of the 18. He's 2 boxes really in front of him. You see the tire carrier like, and what's the deal? He had his back to the 13 car coming in. I put that on Casey Mears. I think it's his responsibility to turn in the box and to miss that pit crew of the 18. But that's not the only time we're going to see that. I mean, that's what happens on these tight pit roads is pit crew members have to be very careful.
We saw tempers on the racetrack a little while ago with Keselowski, and now we see it on pit road as well. And this racetrack is just tight everywhere.
You can get news, results, and highlights delivered straight to your inbox. All you have to do is subscribe to the free official NASCAR newsletter at NASCAR.com/newsletter. That's a great situation. All that news sent directly to your inbox. Those of you with smartphones, get that on the go. Dale Earnhardt Jr. won here a year ago with Steve Letarte on the crew box. Currently Earnhardt 14th now in this lineup.
Yeah, the 88 and the 48 both qualified back. Farther back than we really see Jimmie Johnson qualified. Jimmy's recovered very well. He's up to the 7th position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. A little bit slower recovery. He's only 14th at the moment.
Of the chasers, Carl Edwards is the furthest back at 16. A year ago, under this new chase format, drivers knew you win and you advance. Well, in this third round a year ago, only one chase driver was able to win one of the 3 races. That was Kevin Harvick at Phoenix in a must-win situation. Points are very important when you look at these 3 races. Between here, Texas, our next stop, and then Phoenix.
We have 3 races, and we have an opportunity for 3 winners. That means no matter what, somebody's transferring into Homestead based on points. We cannot have 4 winners. So points matter. This is the ultimate point race. I know winning races immediately puts you in, but points matter more now than they ever have in NASCAR.
Marty, are we hearing anything on the weather down there?
Oh, we're hearing a lot about the weather. Alan Gustafson just told Jeff Gordon, who you see will restart in the 3rd position there, that rain is about 25 minutes out. They do not think they could get to halfway, and Jeff said, well, then I'm just going to race as normal, but that certainly heightens the intensity down there when we know the rain is coming once again.
Absolutely, and speaking of intensity, things get pretty intense on that outside line, so we're going to scan all 43 and focus on the 2 team. Brad Keselowski is going to restart in the 6th position. That's outside of row number 3. We'll listen in to Joey Meyer, who tries to get him back down on the bottom of the track.
Green, green, green. Good out back, inside. Still inside. North left here. He's coming up the track. Opening behind him, opening behind him, opening behind him, opening behind. Clear by 1. In line tight. In line tight. Going to be a wreck in 3 and 4. Going to be a wreck in 3. Caution, caution, caution.
And sure enough, Joey Meyer calls it. The 11 involved. Denny Hamlin around and bringing out the 4th caution at Martinsville. That was live, by the way, folks. You were listening to Joey Meyer live, trying to get the 2 of Brad Keselowski back to the bottom of the track as we see damage to the 10 of Danica Patrick.
We talk about mistakes on pit road. That speed and penalty got Denny Hamlin back in the back of the pack. So on this restart and this wreck, He was in the middle of it because he had to go back there because of the penalty.
Huge damage to Greg Biffle as well. Let's look back on what happened.
You see that inside lane stacks up in the chain reaction. It stacks all the way back until the 11 gets into the back of the 43, and you can see behind them these cars just can't get slowed down. That's why we talk about the fight for the bottom. Well, what happens is at the end of the straightaway, when a car dives to the bottom, that checks the whole line up. It's basically like changing lanes on the interstate in traffic. That lane stops, the other lane rolls, and you see the chain reaction. As everyone jams on the brakes, finally you get back 3, 4, 5 cars that couldn't get slowed down.
And you can't see it. When you're 5 rows behind where it starts checking up, you do not see it. So the spotter has to constantly be talking, hey, they're checking up, they're checking up, they're checking up, and you have to check up early, but the guy behind you has to check up as well.
It all happened behind the 22 of Joey Logano, leading at Martinsville. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. AARP, real possibilities. And by Progressive, comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive. Kelly.
It was a short restart, but here's what Kurt Busch observed on those short laps.
Dude, we just ran over a marble pit. It's ugly out here. Oh my gosh. Tons of marbles. If they want better racing, they gotta clean the outside groove.
I can tell you the team is optimistic on weather. They think that cell's gonna just skirt us here.
We saw some of those marbles. Now we rode around with the 2 of Brad Keselowski and his spotter Joey Myers. On this restart, we're going to scan all 43 with the 18 team and Tony Hirschman trying to get Kyle Busch back to that inside line as they work their way out of turn 4.
Ready. Go. Covered. Side 1. Side 1, quarter. Barely there, the 1. Barely there, the 1. Clear the 1 right now. Inside again. Inside. Inside 48. It's filled. Inside 48. They won the Dyson. Let's get a good run off of 2. Inside 48. Inside 48. Clear the 1 right now. Play low behind the 48. In. Good. Watch them tagging. Good.
And it was 3 wide behind him.
You heard that urgency. In. That he wanted his guy to the bottom lane. And that's sometimes what the spotter will do is not just say it, but they repeat it 2, 3, 4 times. They want to make sure the driver knows now's the time to get down.
And further back in the pack, the outside actually works okay because the bottom gets slowed up so much because everybody wants the bottom. So you can hang up there for 3, 4, maybe 5 laps, but the second you see a hole, you have to dive in it.
Kyle Busch back into the 8th spot. He lost 2 positions. He restarted 6th. Fell into the 8th spot after the restart, so not a big loss there, starting on the outside. Logano and Kurt Busch up front. Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, the top 5. About a 1/4 of the way through this race. Some crew chiefs, some teams looking at the radar, looking at the clouds overhead, thinking there might be precipitation in the area. A lot of the radars that we have seen, most of the precipitation is moving south of us.
And to be honest, Rick, with still 125 laps to halfway, there's not much you can do different. At this point, you're as a race team, you're just trying to settle in and get some track position. I think whether the rain's going to be here or not, until you get closer to halfway, I don't think it really affects your strategy.
Alan Gustafson had this to say about the weather just before the restart with 2014.
Yeah, the rain chance is actually diminishing. If we get anything, it's going to be a little bit of spin. I think it's going to go south of us, so I'll keep you up to speed. 10-4.
You have to be careful as the crew chief not to.
And the caution has come out in turn 3. The 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. slow. And that's the reason why. Right front locked up, damage. That right front fender, and he's being told go to the garage.
Yeah, the tire's not even spinning. You can see the bits of paint in it. That white rim underneath where it says Goodyear, that white you see right there is the paint and the debris from the wall. That car car made heavy contact for sure. He was just coming off pit road a few laps ago. I think he was actually involved in the last issue. You see the tape on the right rear tail. So he's coming down into turn 3. So he had some damage already, and you just see the car just go straight.
8 cars were involved in that incident that took place with Denny Hamlin, Danica Patrick. Sam Hornish Jr. also involved. So was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 17. And then when the right front goes down and he slams into the wall, now he's in the garage. Most everyone on the lead lap came to pit road on lap 104. So now at lap 129, only 25 laps in, does anybody take a chance at coming to pit road?
This is an opportunity for the guys that run a little bit further to the back. Whatever the leaders do, you just do the opposite. If the leaders pit, you stay out. If the leaders, and whatever they do, you just do the opposite. You see they're staying out. So about halfway back, other guys are going to start pitting. Hope a caution comes 15 or 20 laps, and they'll stay the next time, and then they'll be leading the race.
Jimmie Johnson initiated the move. He will be one of the drivers on pit road. We'll give you an update when we come back. Racing started at Martinsville in 1947. It is a fan and family-friendly racetrack. But sometimes, if you're not out front, things can get a little hectic. And they just did for the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He got into the wall, brought out our most recent caution. As we look at our most laps led, presented by Sprint, it's Joey Logano at 73 and counting. Out in front of the field. You can follow Miss Sprint Cup on Twitter now for a chance to win an autographed hat from today's victory lane. For an update from the garage, let's go to Kelly Stavast.
And we saw those Hendrick Motorsport teammates, Jimmie Johnson and Dale Earnhardt, both come down to pit road last time. Jimmie Johnson said he's just being easy on the throttle, taking care of it. He could go harder than he is. The balance is good in the 48, so it was 4 tires and fuel for Jimmie Johnson. For his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr., he said he had been loose in and a little bit too tight. No drive off. 4 tires and fuel as well for the 88.
27 and 16 both had penalties on pit road. We want to listen in to the 2-car once again with Joey Meyer as they get ready for the restart. Or scan all 43. Two by two down the back stretch.
All right, here we go. 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, green, green, green. Inside tight. Inside tight. No opening. Give me another corner, I'll get you in behind Harvick. Inside. Inside, inside, inside. Here you go, spinning 3 and 4. Caution, caution. Caution, caution. Car is stuck on the curb in 3 and 4. It may not be moving. All right, it's moving. Track will be clear on the corner.
That was Sam Hornish Jr. that got over the curb. And that's the 6th caution now. As we've completed 135 laps. There was damage to the 9 prior to this caution. It looks like there's more damage now.
And one thing that all these little short runs are going to do, not only are we having a bunch of cautions, but they're coming run after run after run with only 2 or 3 hard laps, and they're heat cycling the tires. You see here Sam Hornish Jr. trying to get down into turn 3. Looks like he's 3 wide, and the 98 gets forced down over the curb and really just comes up into the side of the 9 car. Nothing I think Sam Hornish could do.
Ryan Preece trying to shorten the short track. I don't know if I've seen anyone come on the inside of the curb before.
I've seen some people hit the curb, but he was below pit road. He was definitely to the bottom of the racetrack.
It doesn't feel like he was getting blocked, and he just decided he was going to keep on digging, and he was going to take that spot, but it's a little too low on entry. About 8 feet.
8 feet too low on entry. So once again, Joey Logano and Kurt Busch holding their respective positions. Jeff Gordon still in the top 3. Matt Kenseth, Kevin Harvick. Brad Keselowski was on the outside of row 3. He restarted 6th. He still scored in 6th. We heard Joey Meyer, his spotter, mention it. You give me one more turn like that, I can get you behind the 2.
And now he gets to do it again. I mean, that's what's so difficult about restarting on the outside, is that if you can just get a little bit ahead and the caution comes out, now you have the inside. So it's just such a fight for everybody trying to get to the inside. So hard on restarts.
Well, let's go to Rutledge Wood on the 4.
Rick, I'm down here at the number 4 Outback Steakhouse Hauler, and NASCAR fans have been loving Bloomin' Mondays when they get to go to Outback and get a free Bloomin' Onion when Harvick finishes in the top 10, just like he's running right now. But they decided fans needed more. They wanted him to have an option, so fans voted, and they got to choose and pick their favorite appetizer. If Harvick wins a championship again this year, on Monday, November 30th, fans can go into any Outback Steakhouse and tell your server, Harvick's our champion, and you can pick any appetizer. It's going to be free for you. So fans got to keep pulling for the number 4, keep pulling for Harvick, as Outback's pulling for you. Rick?
And the field making their way down the backstretch as we get ready for the restart. This time we're going to scan all 43 and listen in to the 78 team. Clayton Hughes, the spotter for Martin Truex Jr., as Martin will start in the 10th spot.
50, 25, getting close here. Be ready, ready. Green. Still inside. Inside. Still there. Still inside. Come on over there. There you go. Thank you, Jamie. All clear, clear by 1.
Martin Truex Jr. able to find a spot in 9th as he is behind A.J. Allmendinger. Found that opening. It's just a taste of what you get in Scan All 43 that comes on Tuesdays on NASCAR America.
One of my favorite segments all week long. You get to relive the race from the spotter, driver, crew chief communications.
All 43 teams.
Man, there's always some exciting stuff in there.
Still exciting for Brad Keselowski as he hasn't been able to find a way to get to that inside line and continues to fight with A.J. Allmendinger and now Martin Truex Jr.
It's not just time you lose as well when you're on the outside. I'm a true believer in what Brad Keselowski is doing right here. He's losing spots on the racetrack, but he's also hurting his tires. The top groove, even though there's not a ton of rubber down in the bottom groove, the top groove just seems to be harder on your tires. It wears them quicker. You hear all these guys about taking care of your tires. Well, Brad has no choice here but to run harder than he probably wants to try to protect his position.
Now it gets more difficult as the run goes on, because again, now as the field starts to spread out, the bottom line doesn't chuck up as much in the corners. So if you couldn't find your way to the bottom early, it gets more and more difficult. You see contact right there.
A little bumping and banging between Ryan Newman and Brad Keselowski. Keselowski's going to go right to the curb.
And two guys we haven't talked about a lot today. They had to start in the back and backup cars, but the 5 of Casey Kane and the 14 of Tony Stewart, both up in the top 16.
Casey Mears just to the inside of that 14 in the Geico Chevrolet.
Right behind this battle, we have the 40 and the 88. Remember, they came and got tires just a few laps ago. Gave up a lot of track position to try to work back up into the top 15.
We'll see how well those tires benefit the 48 and 88. We'll keep track of their progress. Now running 18th and 19th for those two, as Logano is in front of Jeff Gordon, who's moved up to the 2nd spot. Kurt Busch 3rd. Kevin Harvick 4th. Matt Kenseth in the top 5. And once we have a little bit longer of a green flag run, it almost looks like a train, very reminiscent of the train tracks that run along the backstretch here at Martinsville, but they get in line like a train around Martinsville, and then you have to pick and choose the opportunities where you can get by someone.
Saw Stewart make a hard left in front of Dillon to take that spot. You know, it's just close racing. You see the 31 getting into the side of the 2, got into him, had to correct, got back into him again. 2 kept digging, though. I mean, honestly, you don't like to be run into, but when you get run into and it slows the momentum down on 31 and allows you to get the bottom, you'll take it. As long as it doesn't touch your tire, whatever it takes to be able to get to the bottom, you'll try to take advantage of it.
Kelly, how about the 41?
Something to be aware of with Kurt Busch in that 41 car. He's been saying that his steering has been getting stiffer and stiffer, and then just before that last restart, he said, I can even hear my steering box squealing. We'll manage it. The team thinks it's because he's been sawing on the wheel too much, which has been heating up that steering box. Steve, what's your take on it?
Well, I think that's absolutely a good point. This little short track, everything runs hotter, and that includes the power steering fluid. This is not something you normally cool, but here in Martinsville, you can run a cooler on it. And if the 41 is working his tires extremely hard under caution, you can actually overheat that fluid, turns it almost into a foam. It no longer gives you any assist. You would start to lose power steering. That description sounds to me like it's a hydraulic issue. So if he's not losing fluid, perhaps it's just running too warm.
So not only the temperatures run a little bit hotter here at Martinsville, the fluids do as well. Marty?
Rick, you see Jeff Gordon in front of this group trying to track down Joey Logano, also watching the 41 in his mirror. On the last pit stop, we told you Jeff Gordon really trying to conserve those tires, and he and his spotter, Eddie DeHaan, had a very interesting conversation under the last caution. He asked DeHaan to tell him if there's a gap behind the person behind him. In other words, if the car behind him, in this case Kurt Busch, is pushing him too hard, you see Danica Patrick shoot up the racetrack there, he wants to know if there's a gap where he can get back behind another car. Jeff, that's an interesting strategy to almost give up a spot here at Martinsville. Not something you normally want to do, but you don't want a driver pressuring you that hard early in a run either.
Greg Biffle went around coming out of turn 2. That brings the caution out once again. And Biffle had help, or Biffle helped someone. There were 2 cars back there. Biffle was the one pointed in the wrong direction when the caution came out. Danica also had some issues. She was up near the wall, and you see the smoke rolling out from underneath the front right of that car.
Danica was entering turn 3. You can see the 38 just got behind her and just pushed her into the corner. She was trying to get in, and he just wasn't having any of it and pushed her right into the wall.
There's David Gilliland in the 38, and then the issue with the 16 of Greg Biffle.
Now it's decision time, Rick. Now the leaders have 25 green flag laps in their tires. Do they decide to pit? And if they do pit, do the cars that have a little bit fresher tires of the 48 and the 88 decide to stay out? We're going to continue to see this all day long with these shorter runs. I expect to see the leaders pit. And when the leaders come, there's going to be a lot of guys that stay out.
And we're going to see lead pack making their way onto pit road. They were last on pit road on lap 104. We've completed 157 laps, Kelly.
Kurt Busch will pit from the 3rd position. He said we're on the tight side of things that run with the changes we made last time down pit road, so they're going to take half a round of wedge back out of the right side and 4 tires. Marty?
Kelly, Jeff Gordon pits from 2nd. He said the car really not that bad. You see him on the bottom of the screen. He said, I'm just trying to keep the rear tires on him. They stopped him a little bit shorter in his box for a cleaner exit, Dave.
Kevin Harvick comes to pit road for 4 Goodyear tires and a fill of Sunoco fuel. He said the car was really good that run. Mike?
Joey Logano, your leader. He's led 98 laps today. The car was just a little bit free on that run. They'll take a round out of the left rear and 4 tires and fuel.
And once again, pit stall 1 works for Joey Logano as he'll win the race off of pit road. Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick also moving up a spot. Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Martinsville, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech, continues. About ready to go back to green. We're going to listen in to Jeff Gordon and Eddie DeHaan, his spotter, for this restart.
Going to green. Still there, room behind Harvick, room behind Harvick. Still room behind Harvick if you want it. Still 2 back. All clear low, all clear low. Double wide behind you, Kyle up top. All clear.
Quick and simple for Jeff Gordon.
It's great to have teammates. That's the opportunity for have teammates. You know, Jimmy Johnson wants to win this race, but with 338 laps to go, you know, I would expect nothing less. We'll let the 24 get down in line. You would expect the 24 to do it to the 48 if you had the same opportunity.
The 41 of Kurt Busch still hung out on the outside, as is the 27 of Paul Menard now.
You see the 41 of Busch trying to convince Jeff Gordon he needed to let him in. Jeff wasn't having anything to do with it. He wants to hang the 41 on the outside. He's racing 41 for the win and also for the championship. So if you can shove that guy to the outside, that's what you're looking to do.
Austin Dillon's done a great job of holding off these new tires, but the 22 of Joe Logano has position now, and I expect Kevin Harvick to follow him through.
Logano, Harvick, Austin Dillon has dropped back to third. One of the drivers that stayed out on the racetrack.
And you know, the fans say all the time, why stay out? Well, he was running 22nd, so even though he's falling back to third, as long as this run can be a short enough distance and he can do a good enough job in these old tires to protect, he perhaps can get a little track position. Even if he falls back to 10th or 15th, it's a gain for this 3-car.
Now the field is starting to thin out up front. We want to show you why the caution came out. Most recently, Greg Biffle, Sam Hornish Jr. going through turns 2.
Greg just lost it. Tried to get the throttle down and came around on him.
And then on pit road, under this most recent caution, the 41, things got a little hot for the gas man. Take a look.
Yeah, you see this, that liquid you see on the ground is fuel from when they filled the car up. Perhaps a hot lug nut or a spark off changing the tires ignited that fuel. It's a great situation that's only as big as the fire became.
And an issue for the 78 team. Martin Truex Jr. after leading 27 laps at Martinsville. A slow pit stop for Martin Truex Jr. has relegated him outside the top 15. He's currently running 17th now.
And we've seen troubles in the pits for the 78, put them in bad situations several times in the chase. They've got to clean that up. If they want to move ahead, they got to find a way to quit making mistakes on pit road.
Better to happen early in this race, though, as we've not even got to the halfway point, still looking at getting to lap 200. Well, they make a mistake. They still have time to get back.
Yes, but remember what happened to Denny Hamlin. He sped on pit road, got pushed to the back of the pack, spin in front of him, he got into it. You don't want to give up track position at any point. Yes, if you have to, early is better because you have time to recover, but never do you want to give it up here.
Look how good this 4-car rolls the middle of the corner compared to the 22. They're about even on entry. The 4 doesn't gain a whole lot, but right about here where you get off the brakes, look at the 4.
And around goes the 18 of Kyle Busch. The 3 as well with Austin Dillon. The caution will come out.
Well, when we saw the 3 stay out on old tires, that was the one caveat to it, is he had to not only fight and hold his position.
Yep, we got toe damage and right front damage and sorry for the water on the apron there.
Kyle mentioning the damage to his car. So he'll be bringing the 18 to the attention of his crew. And look at the damage on chaser Carl Edwards, number 19.
That's pretty severe damage. You have to be concerned if the radiator has a leak, the cooling system. There's a heavy damage to the front of this 19 car.
As they checked up in front of him, Carl Edwards running 16th. Got into the back of AJ Allmendinger.
Yeah, it's hard to see what you see right here, the 18. He just gets loose and comes up the track chasing. He doesn't mean to get into the 3. He's sliding up the racetrack out of control, and the chain reaction got called.
Didn't we hear him say something about water on the
apron? Does
he think that water caused this issue? Where he got in the corner and there's water on the racetrack? Let's see if there is water.
Down.
It almost looked like he got into the curb. The way the steering wheel moved.
Stay bottom lane. Get it rolling. Stay bottom lane. Bottom lane. Bottom lane. All right.
So around goes the 18. The caution has come out now for the 8th time today. There's some damage to the right front of Kyle Busch's number 18. He brings it to the attention of his crew. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and by Castrol GTX Magnatech, instant protection from the moment you start. Leaves changing on the trees here as fall getting into full swing, and the 18 of Kyle Busch not happy about what he thinks is precipitation or maybe some water on the racetrack.
Yeah, right here, see on the left side, right underneath the 20 car, that appears to be water, and so he's got his left side tires in this water, and as soon as he does, the back end comes around and he gets into the 3. So there does appear to be water on the racetrack, and he's asking to have it cleaned up.
Here's what the 18 had to say on the radio.
Can somebody ask them to blow the water down low, please? We'll work on it.
And that is, you had mentioned earlier, Steve, not being able to even see the grass. That's one of the problems, is that's on the other side of a curb, on the other side of a wall. So a lot of people are not being able to see that as well as these drivers do, because the drivers are right there. They see everything on the track. We can see with our cameras now a little bit of moisture there on the exit of turn 2, just right along that curb.
You see the dryer going by it. They don't seem to think it's a big issue.
Let's go to Dave.
Two big concerns for Carl Edwards: temperature of the motor and vision. He said the temps went up but came back down. When they got the hood down, Darian reminded him, we do have a tether on that hood, so in case it comes up, you'll be able to keep the hood and you'll be able to see. He said, it might be better if I don't see. Kelly.
Disappointing for Kyle Busch in the 18. His race car had continued to get better and better before that incident on pit road. He had some damage on the right front, so they were working on pulling that fender out. They're also concerned that now the toe could be out, but Adam Stevens saying there's no reason to bring it back in. Remember, we need to get all the points that we can. Let's keep it out there and see what happens.
So Kyle Busch claiming that there was water on the track right along that curb, and he went up the track, got around, and brought out the 8th caution. 2x2 once again, and this time we're going to listen into TJ Majors, the spotter for the 88s, Dale Earnhardt Jr., as we continue to scan all 43.
Track bar where you need it. Fans in track bar.
And that's moved Busch and Edwards, Kyle Busch and Edwards back all the way to 28th and 29th. We talked about the importance of track position. They've lost it.
All right, leader is 10 for the mark. 5 away, ready, rolling good, rolling good, rolling good. Lined up on the bottom, no holes yet. Door, bumper, you're clear low behind the 48 by 1. All right, stop. Bumper. Still there, lined up, the 2 will be there now. He's clear about 1 behind him though. I'll try to get it on the 2. 31's there, door. Still gonna be there. Still gonna be there. Got the run tight here, door. Checking up on the bottom. Still there. 20's there now. Bumper. Clear low, clear low, clear low. He's there, he's there. We can drive it in on him later. 1 back half. You're clear low behind him by half. Clear low behind him. All clear, all clear.
And it's that hard to get back to the bottom of the racetrack. As we were listening to TJ Majors trying to find a spot for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to get in. NASCAR warned the 1 and 22 to make sure to keep their speeds consistent when they come to the restart. Want to take a look at that restart, and you'll see the speeds. And just a warning again to the 22, not the 1, the 22 of Joey Logano. Was just warned by NASCAR to make sure to keep your speed consistent. Kevin Harvick running second. Jeff Gordon third, Kurt Busch fourth, and Jimmy Johnson in the top 5. Joey Logano, could he make history once again as a round goes to 15?
Down again.
Clint Bowyer, hard contact with the back of that car into the wall. He was running 16th, and you see all the damage to the back end of the 15.
And that was a chain reaction behind Clint Bowyer. We had David Ragan going down the backstretch, looking at the inside of the 42. He gets into the 42, who then gets into the 15, spins the 15 up the racetrack.
Short track racing, a lot of bumping, banging, nobody giving an inch, and we're still haven't even reached lap 200 of this 500 lap race.
Yeah, what you're going to see here is you see David Ragan all the way to the bottom of the backstretch trying to get into the 42. The 42 is trying to protect, and as he gets into the left rear of the 42 goes up to the racetrack, gets into the left rear of the 15. Clint Bowyer probably had no idea he had those 2 cars underneath him.
And listen, it's lap 186. Okay, I know it's a fight to the bottom, but at the same time, you have to use, you have to give a little bit. You have to say, all right, I don't have this spot right now. It's okay to lift and not get in the back of somebody. I know the fight for the bottom is important, but again, lap 182, a little patience isn't a terrible thing.
A couple cars will make their way onto pit road. Included in that, the 42 of Kyle Larson, who is somewhat a part of that most recent caution. 9 cautions already. Lap 186. Welcome back to the Goodies Headache Relief Shot 500. 5 lucky fans win a pair of tickets to Champions Week in Las Vegas. Visit NASCAR.com/Vegas for your chance to win tickets to all the festivities of Champions Week. Time now for the McDonald's Who Are You Loving?
Well, it's hard not to love Joey Logano. 125 laps led, currently first, coming off a round with 3 wins, a pole here. And how can you bet against Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, both with 8 wins here at the Paperclip, both currently running in the top 7?
I can see why you're loving them. Let's listen into the 22 radio on restarts.
Power says we're going to maintain his pace a little bit better coming to the green.
Run at the same speed since I leave the pace car.
That's all I can ask you to do.
I don't know how to fix it if I'm going the same speed already.
And so Logano making the claim that right now, from that point after the pace car has left the track, he is the control car and he will bring them around. Turns 3 and 4 into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air.
See the 4, Kevin Harvick got down in front of Jeff Gordon.
Now Kurt Busch trying to find a spot. He and Brad Keselowski stuck on the outside. Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman, A.J. Allmendinger, Jamie McMurray. All non-chasers in the top 10. Casey Mears having an impressive run as well. Casey Mears 11. Kurt Busch still trying to find a spot. None opens up yet as Kurt Busch still stuck on the outside. Brad Keselowski was able to get down low, and now he is halting that move to the inside. Will Ryan Newman be able to stay down there? A little contact made, and up the track goes Kurt Busch.
I don't blame Ryan Newman at all. I think he had position. I also don't blame the 41. He has to force that issue. Ryan Newman, though, that's what you see at a slower short track. He had the opportunity to nudge the 41. He didn't spit him out, but he nudged him up the lane, kind of let him know, hey, man, I'm inside your quarter panel. 41, though, still found a hole in front of A.J. Allmendinger.
And he's able to jump to the bottom of the track.
Now you foul that away as a driver. What just happened a minute ago, you saw a big aggressive move. You know, Newman just said, hey, you're not having this spot. Well, you foul that away. So right here, Newman says, nope, I'm not going to let you down. This is my spot. Holds his spot. 41 tries to come down. Newman moves up to him. No spin. But now, if you're Busch, you remember that. You say, okay, bud. Next time, you know, you're on the outside trying to work your way in. There'll be no help for you either.
Or how about the fact that he's behind him now on the track? If he's a little quicker into the turns, does he give him a little nudge and let him know, all right, I'm faster than you now? As these two have separated themselves, Logano just in front of Harvick.
We've talked so much over the last 3 weeks about Joey Logano. We've kind of forgotten about Kevin Harvick, you know, how good he was running. But Joey kind of took the stage away from him. See, Joey's giving him the spot, letting Kevin go by.
And he did that by going to the inside. That normally will happen when you've got a line of cars behind you. You don't want to get stuck on the outside.
And we've talked about Joey Logano now later in his career, the maturity he's shown, even still at such a young age. It's a very mature move. I'm not going to run this hard. I know what I have for a race car. There's still 300 laps to go. If Kevin Harvick wants to be the leader, go ahead. I'll let you get out in front.
So Kevin Harvick now grabs a point for being a lap leader.
And I think that's a valid point. I think when to have a sense of urgency is very important, especially at a racetrack like Martinsville. You know, you want to lead every lap for sure, but why put yourself in jeopardy? Why put yourself in danger of getting wrecked, having a problem, pushing your car too hard? Relax. It's now not the time. You know, later in the race, pump up the sense of urgency, but right now, it's okay to be smart.
Right there, nice and smooth, bud.
And the 41 has gotten by the 31 of Ryan Newman. Let's go through the field, brought to you by Hardee's. Dave.
Rick, yesterday morning here at the track, it was 42 degrees for the first practice at 9 a.m. and Rodney Childers decided not to have his driver go out right away. They only did 10 laps in that practice session. I said, don't you really want to use all the practice you can? He said, we were pretty confident about our car, and that would have been a waste of time. Obviously, they're right. Mike?
The 22 team, Dave, also very confident with their race car, and as Steve and Jeff just alluded to, discipline and patience has been preached to Logano throughout the course of this race. Even before it began, they said, hey, look, run our race for the first 400 laps, but go hard in the last 100. May have been why you just saw him let Harvick go by, Marty.
Mike, you see Jeff Gordon sitting back there in third. He is really good right now, but as he keeps telling Alan Guths on the radio, I'm just saving tires. You know, the turnaround for this 2014 is a perception that everybody has, but he said, honestly, we're just finishing races better. That's been the big turnaround, Kelly.
Jimmie Johnson has 8 wins at this track. He started 21st, now inside the top 5. And he said after getting knocked out of the chase, we need another win before the year is out. This is the perfect place for it. He and crew chief Chad Knaus joked that they should run here more than twice a year. Right now he's saying he has good drive off, but it gets a little bit on the tight side at the end of the run, Marty.
Kelly, all weekend long, Brad Keselowski is saying this will be his best round in the chase. Why? All these short tracks. He loves them, like Martinsville and Phoenix. Finished second here in the spring earlier this year. Keselowski said the car really good. The toughest part for that 2 machine, just getting back to that inside line where he's at now, Kelly.
Kurt Busch had top 10s all 3 races of that last round, but now he said now we're in the top 8. It's the who's who of 2015. There's not going to be a mistake made by the top team, so we have got to raise our bar. We saw that contact earlier with Ryan Newman. He was worried about a tire rub, but the team is telling him everything looks good, Dave.
Quote of the weekend from Luke Lambert, Ryan Newman's crew chief. He said, Martinsville is where anything can happen, and we want to be part of that anything. I don't think the Kurt Busch contact was what he was talking about. Victory Lane is more like it. Newman runs 7th, Mike.
And Dave, Martin Truex Jr.'s day began pretty strong. He led 27 laps early, but then the car started to go away. It got tight, and then they had a bad pit stop. Subsequently, on one of the more recent restarts, he started 22nd. He's rebounded from that. The car's driving much better. He's inside the top 10 now, Martin.
Mike stalking him in 9th because he wants 8th. Jamie McMurray continuing to be strong here at Martinsville this afternoon. You know, he's 5th in short track points in 2015, and you can see why. Very good here. He said the biggest thing for that one car, he just needs to be freer. Right there in the middle of the corner is where he needs to be freed up just a little bit. Jamie McMurray said what he needs is a little bit more forward bite, trying to get back into up there to get McMurray for the 9th position in the top 10 right now. And the best short track finish ever for A.J. Allmendinger right here at Martinsville. He finished 2nd. Kelly?
Kyle Busch now running 17th. Remember, he suffered some damage after he hit a water patch on the track. In fact, he came back to the team and said that he thinks a spindle is bent. His crew chief Adam Stevens offering to take him back to the garage, take off the hood and have a look at it, but they don't want to lose laps on the track. They don't want to lose valuable points, so they're going to try to ride it out and see what happens, Dave.
Same story for Carl Edwards, except he doesn't have that same sort of issue. They're just watching the temperatures on that 19. So far, so good after that front-end repair on Carl's car. Rick?
Thanks, Dave. Short track racing. We've already seen quite a few cars with some body damage to their machines. Kevin Harvick now in front of Martinsville. Welcome back to Martinsville Speedway as Kevin Harvick continues to lead. Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, and Jimmie Johnson are the top 5. It's time now for the Toyota driver update. And Matt Kenseth, the highest running Toyota, in 8th, just broke back up into the top 10. David Reagan, 11th, just outside that top 10. Kyle Busch, after spinning, bringing out the caution, has fallen back to 14th. Denny Hamlin's 15th, and that's been a pretty impressive move back toward the front for Denny Hamlin, and Carl Edwards back in 24th. Marty.
Now about the move back to the front for Matt Kenseth. Restarted 26. Remember, he pitted this last time. And the reason that Jason Ratcliffe called him on the pit road, even though he apologized to Matt Kenseth for doing that because they thought more cars would come down pit road, is that the car had gotten extremely tight for Matt Kenseth. But look at this roll. Since the restart, they are up to 8. And that low of the day is when they restarted this run. An impressive recovery for Matt Kenseth.
You think of Matt Kenseth, you know, for years, he hated coming to Martinsville. He just wasn't very good here. He admitted it. He said, I'm not good here. I don't like it. He went to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing, and all of a sudden, he got really good. Became a guy that could contend for wins, qualified much better. He now really enjoys coming here, sees it as a challenge, but it's an example of how the car and the driver have to work well together.
Can you give credit, a little credit, to Denny Hamlin as well, a driver who's very good at this racetrack, and that move over into that team maybe helped Matt Kenseth see something that he hadn't seen before? I think you give a lot of credit. You know, if you talk to the drivers, you know, at Joe Gibbs Racing, they all talk about how they follow Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. He kind of sets the pace, sets the tempo, drives the team to do certain things. So he's so good at this racetrack, he leads that team when it comes to Martinsville and the preparation before they come here. Kevin Harvick coming up on some of the slower cars on the track. And so now he will be in traffic as he tries to hold off Joey Logano. Ryan Preece in the 98s moves out of the way. Already 5 of the 8 chase drivers have led laps today. Most recent now, it's Kevin Harvick who's adding laps led to the column for him. Harvick's led 27, so is Martin Truex Jr. Joey Logano's led the most today at 133 laps, and he's running second to Kevin Harvick. Jeff Gordon also has led 10 laps of the chasers that have been out front. Now, as long as Joey Logano stays on the back bumper of Kevin Harvick, any car that Harvick is able to pass, Logano will be able to do the same.
That's the best strategy, Rick. Let the Ford do the heavy lifting. Let Kevin Harvick work the lap car off the bottom of your Joey Logano. Just be close enough that you can fill that hole. Like right here, you see the 40 of Landon Castle. He's up off the bottom. The 4 is in there. Well, the 22, best thing he can do is just follow the 4 through this hole on corner entry.
Closing in on the halfway point on lap 228 of 500.
The guy right now that I'm worried about is the 19 of Carl Edwards. We saw him get in that incident earlier, and you know he's running back in 24th. He's not real far from getting lapped. You know, the 4 and the 22, they have a lot of cars between them, but they're coming. If you get a lap down, it can put your championship hunt in serious jeopardy. Dave?
Yeah, keep one eye on the right of your screen too there, Jeff. That was close for the lead up front there. But Carl Edwards just radioed his crew and said, man, just too tight and I'm blowing the rears off. So not a handling situation that's very comfortable for Carl right now.
Yeah, that's the worst combination, Dave, is you're in the middle of the corner, you're turning the wheel, you're trying to get the front end to follow the steering wheel, get it to roll around the corner. Then ultimately you got to go to the throttle to leave the corner, and you have so much steering wheel put in it that it spins the rear tires. So now you're hurting the front tires and the rear tires.
Teammates running 2 and 3, and it's Brad Keselowski that has taken over the second spot in front of his teammate Joey Logano, now back to third. Brad running second, Marty.
And moving up through the field and got around his teammate, as you mentioned, Rick, and he said right now, really good handling wise, sliding a little bit, getting into the corners and off of the corners. He talked about all the confidence he comes into this round with. And Jeff, when you come to a place like Martinsville, confidence is key, isn't it? When you run well here in the past, that's big when you feel like you can come back and replicate that, especially in a chase race.
No question, Marty. There's so many drivers, to be honest with you, that don't like coming to Martinsville. It's so difficult, it's so unique, it's so strange that a lot of drivers don't like it. If you're going to have some success somewhere, you have to embrace the challenge. You have to enjoy it. And then once you do have success, well, then all that hard work, you saw a result from it, and then you want to go back to that racetrack. So success in a difficult racetrack is a huge confidence builder.
And Brad Keselowski was in a unique situation. His teammate dominated the last round. They're both in the chase. They're both running for a championship. The best Brad could do in the last round was a 9th, a 9th, and a 4th, which is very impressive. It advanced him into round 3. But now the pressure is on for Brad Keselowski because he's got to elevate his game to where his teammate is running. You've got Joey Logano winning these races. Brad Keselowski seeing that happen out of the same shop. And so Brad Keselowski now trying to make things get turned around so that they can be up front winning races as well.
Yeah, Now, we talk a lot about teamwork, and the teams do work very well together. But when your team is not the best within a company, you feel like you're dragging the team down a little bit. You're not able to provide as much information as the team that's being successful can provide. For relationships to work, there has to be a give and take. You have to be willing to give something and capable of giving something so that you can get something back. When you don't feel like you're able to do that, it's a strain on the relationship.
Well, you talk about give and take. There has to be give and take in points battles as well. Earlier, you saw Joey Logano right here turning to the left of Kevin Harvick going through lap traffic. Well, he gets 3 wide, but he lets Kevin Harvick go back in. That's a good point of give and take.
And just as Brad Keselowski went by the 4, the caution comes out for Greg Biffle. We'll see if they made it to a scoring loop before the caution came out. That is how NASCAR will determine who is in front of the other driver. Brad Keselowski had just made the pass on Kevin Harvick, but the caution came out almost as soon as the pass was made.
Steve, that point about being patient, you have to know when it's time to go and when it's not time to go. You're going to push that button. You're going to go with 5, 10, 15 laps to go. But at this point in the race, that's where patience comes into play. Something we didn't see from some drivers early in the race, the willingness to lift, cut a guy some slack. We did see it right there.
Brad Keselowski is scored as the race leader, so he will now lead a lap, become the 6th different chaser to lead at Martinsville. This is Biffle around again on his own.
That looks almost identical to the first time he spun.
And he was quite a ways away from the curb that time. The last time he was right up against the curb. We thought potentially some of that moisture that was on the track could have got him a little bit loose. This time he was quite a ways away from the curb.
So now Keselowski's pit crew, he's driven the thing to the front. He's the leader. Now you got to hold it for him. You got to come in and have a good clean stop. Take advantage of the track position that your driver's giving you.
46 of Michael Annett will get the free pass. That will put 28 on the lead lap. As Brad Keselowski leading the field onto pit road. We'll go first to Kelly.
Remember the steering issues for Kurt Busch. He said it is touchy now. He started off tight exit. Now he's loose in and off. They've been making wedge adjustments for him throughout the day today. This time around, it'll be an air pressure adjustment for Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for Kurt Busch, Marty.
Kelly, Brad Keselowski told Paul Wolfe the car was a little bit tight getting going. You see him on the bottom of the screen, but it was so good at the end of that run. He had so much better rear grip than everybody else. 4 tires, no changes for that 2-car, Dave.
Kevin Harvick didn't lose the lead until late in the run. He said, I'm losing the tires as we go. They'll make an air pressure adjustment for that, Mike.
Joey Logano lost his tires about a dozen laps ago, Dave, so he's looking forward to putting on 4 new Goodyears. A chassis adjustment on the right side as well as he's off pit road.
And games once again being played. Kevin Harvick slows down as they get to the line. That means Keselowski will start on the outside. Brad Keselowski is going to restart on the outside of teammate Joey Logano, so teammates not working together on this restart. We get ready for this lap 242 restart as they enter the restart zone. Joey Logano with a good restart, but Kevin Harvick closes the gap. Harvick trying to make sure that Keselowski doesn't have an opening to get into, at least in front of him. Behind him, the opening's there. Here comes Jimmy Johnson now. Johnson's moved up into 4th. Logano, Harvick, Keselowski, Johnson, and Kenseth, the top 5.
You talk about how important the restarts are. It's more than just how good of a restart you get. It comes down to what lane you're in. And we've seen this time and time again here at Martinsville, where these teams off of pit road will actually play games to try to make sure they're in the odd number. So Harvick had a good pit stop with the 4-car, but as he left pit road, he decided to stop. You're on board here with Harvick. You see the pit crew members, they're pumped up. They know they have a good stop. Well, Harvick sees Logano. He knows he's going to come off second. He jams on the brakes, lets the 2 of Brad Keselowski go, assuring him the opportunity to restart 3rd on the inside. And that's allowed him to maintain 2nd on this restart.
So important to get right along that curb. Keselowski takes the 2nd spot away from Kevin Harvick. Now teammates run nose to tail. Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski, 1 and 2 for Penske. Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray. Johnson, Kenseth, and McMurray. 3 drivers not in the chase anymore.
You see the points as they run there on the left side of the screen. The 22 is the leader, the 2 is +7. Everyone else is really close except for Carl Edwards, -16. He's had some damage early, currently running in the 22nd position.
And interesting, the top 12 on the track are all chase drivers that started in the chase. When the chase began back at Chicagoland, 16 drivers had an opportunity. And as we've mentioned before, they're there for a reason. Those 16 drivers were the best this season, and they continue to show that here at Martinsville as Matt Kenseth looks to the inside of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Kenseth will take 4th away from Johnson.
I think Matt Kenseth has an extremely fast race car. I mean, here's a guy that can take a win away from these guys trying to win a championship. We saw him charge from the back when he had the pit stop, put him back in the low 20s. He's driven himself up to 4th place. So Matt Kenseth has a very fast race car.
And you see the 48 get ready to lose another spot to one Jamie McMurray. That's just unlike the 48. The 48 normally is so dominant here at Martinsville, but they didn't show speed Friday in qualifying. They were decent yesterday in practice, but here in the race, they've recovered. They've gained their track position back, but they just haven't seemed to have the ability to drive up to the front, much like the 88. The 88 also qualified towards the back. He has gained some track position at times, but a few times the extra down pit road has hurt him on track position. He's yet to get back into the top 5.
Race is past the halfway point. Joey Logano in front, Brad Keselowski, Kevin Harvick. As Penske fighting for that top spot.
Keselowski took a look at Joey. Joey just said, no, I'm not going to give it to you. You know, 2 teammates. Here comes Matt still on his charge. Fight's going to start again at the front.
Kenseth has made his way up to 3rd now. And what will happen when Matt Kenseth gets behind the 22 of Joey Logano? If he can get to the back bumper of Joey Logano, as we see the race for the lead continues.
I think Joey might get out of the way. Wouldn't be a bad move. He's going to race his teammate hard. You want to lead as many laps as you can. You want to keep that track position. You want to keep the bit of pace on pit road. Much better coming on pit road with the lead in 2nd. Although that first pit stall has been a huge advantage for Joey.
A few races ago, Matt Kenseth was leading at Kansas. Had a great opportunity to advance into the 3rd round. Joey Logano put a bumper to him, got him turned around, and Kenseth wasn't happy about it. Now, Kenseth on the back bumper of Joey Logano. Mike.
You know, it was the elephant in the room when I had a discussion with Joey Logano's crew chief this morning about racing the 20. We talked about it. He said, look, we told Joey, just be smart. I had a little conversation with Joey right before he got in the race car about the situation, too, and he said, look, we're going to have to race him. We know that, but there's nothing we can do. It's out of our control. So this team, the 22 team, very much anticipating perhaps maybe some physicality during this race for the 20, Rick.
Mike, you mean that first opportunity he had to get to his bumper and he put it to him? Because that's exactly what happened. Kenseth bumps the 22. Out of the way goes Joey Logano, and now Kenseth running 2nd.
But listen, I think if you're Joey Logano, you're okay with that. I mean, you know what I mean? He got hit in the back. It was, you know, certainly he didn't give him any chance at all. First time he got to him, but he lost a spot. He's going to lose anyway. No damage. If that let Matt Kenseth get a little bit, blow a little steam off, and this is the worst that happened, I think Joey's okay with that.
Yeah, because you could say it's Matt Kenseth putting the bumper to Joey Logano from a couple weeks ago, but it's also the 3rd place car much faster than the 2nd place car, not wasting any time. Matt knew that he had Joey Logano's attention. Joey didn't fight for the position. One contact on the bumper. Joey looked at me and said, yep, that's fair. Come on through.
So now Logano running 3rd. Kenseth is 2nd. Brad Keselowski is leading.
And, you know, kudos to Joey Logano. Now is not a time to have an ego. You know that you raced Matt Kenseth hard. You don't have to back down. You can be proud of the position you took to win that race, but don't continue to throw it in Matt Kenseth's face. He gets to you, he hits you in the bumper, pull over, let him go. Now is not the time to fight.
Matt Kenseth, the car on the move, has closed the gap in on that lead. Brad Keselowski has. Wednesday night is rivalry night on NBCSN. This week, a heated Central Division matchup. St. Louis Blues visit the Chicago Blackhawks. Tonight, you love to hate Blackhawks Blues, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. The NHL is on NBCSN. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is broken back into the top 10. He closes the gap on his teammate, Jeff Gordon, in that 24. Gordon running 9th. Earnhardt Jr. running 10th. And even teammates can maybe not give as much as they would prefer on a short track. Take a look at how that pass took place. Gordon getting by the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Got up the racetrack a little bit in the middle of the corner. 24 had a little run. 88 trying to block. Jeff Gordon says, you know what, I'm coming. It's my spot. Dale tried to block him. Jeff Gordon, I'm going to let him block him. But all that started all the way on the other end of the racetrack. You saw the 88 got slow in the middle of the corner, got up the racetrack. Jeff Gordon saw that as an opportunity and took it.
Here comes Kurt Busch looking to the inside of the 48s. That's for 6th.
Kyle Busch right back up in the mix. We saw him earlier get spun around, thought he had some damage to the car. He mentioned that the toe was knocked out, that the steering wheel perhaps was off, but he's battled all the way back to 8th, looking to pass Jimmy Johnson for 7th. These are the types of runs he has to try to gain as many points as possible. We talked about this. It's not just winning races. You have to gain points. You have to get the most points you can in all 3 of these races.
Earlier we saw the 48 maybe give the 24 a little bit of room to move in. This most recent move between the 24 and the 88, I think the 24 had a little different thought. Here's what they had to say on the radio after that incident took place between the two.
Our teammate just knocked our damn fender in. I saw it. I can't believe that's stupid.
So again, teammates might not be working as well together as they would hope. Jeff Gordon, the only one from Hendrick still in the fight for the championship. I'm assuming he's looking for a little bit of room from his teammates when he's still running for a championship, has that opportunity, maybe not to race him too hard before we've even got to lap 300.
Yeah, I think you always expect more from your teammates. We talked about this several times, and teammates seem to get a little more upset with each other than actually people that aren't on your team, because you expect a lot more. You expect your teammate to give you more room. You think the guys you're racing with are going to not give you room like the 18 here, but you know, you expect it from your teammates. When you don't get it, it hurts your feelings, it makes you mad, and then you express it. And we're starting to get pretty long into a run. We can see the 88 car. Look at the right front brake rotor, how hot it is. You know, the longer we run, the more heat the brakes get in them. All that heat also goes into the wheel, goes into the tire, builds air pressure. It's not uncommon to see brake rotors going in Martinsville, but when I look at all these cars, right now, the 2 Hendrick cars, the 88, the 24, I see higher brake rotor temperatures in those 2 cars than I do everybody else.
Yeah, we haven't had the long run we've expected yet today. The longest we've had today is 46 laps under green. You know, we start talking about a 70, 80, 90, 100 lap run. That's not rare here at Martinsville. We see that a lot. That's when that brake fade, brake damage, and perhaps the brake heat get into the tire, you can see a tire failure.
Yeah, we've seen, you know, and that's a great point. I mean, the brakes are so good today. Actually, you know, the bigger concern is the tire. I mean, the brakes, you typically don't see brake failure anymore at Martinsville. It used to be a major issue years ago, but now the parts and pieces are so much better than they used to be. It's more worry of the wheel actually melting the tire and the air coming out of the tire. That's a bigger concern.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to hold his position. Let's go for a few updates. We'll start with Dave Burns.
Rick, I know you've synced your phone lately in some software, and when you do, your phone operates a whole lot better. Well, these two, the crew chief, Rodney Childers, and the driver, Kevin Harvick, are in sync right now. He gave me one little example from practice. He said, I was looking at the car around the track, and in the corner, I said to myself, that car's too loose at the 5/8 mark. The driver came in, talked to the, oh, and Biffle is around again, Rick.
Biffle around again. Look at all the damage to the front end of the 16. Caution out. Once again, this is the 11th caution.
Greg Biffle has not had the day at Martinsville he's wanted. See a flat left front tire. And unlike at some tracks, we have an inner liner to keep the car up off the ground. We don't run inner liners here at the short tracks.
Pit road is open for Greg Biffle. Red light still being displayed for the rest of the field. Biffle's going to make his way onto pit road, though, so that he can get that damage fixed as quickly as possible. Now pit road has gone green. And that's a very similar sight that we have seen today.
While he was underneath the 46 of Michael Annett, right in the middle of the corner. That's the third time see Biffle spin in turn 2.
Brad Keselowski, race leader, will bring the field onto pit road. Start with Kelly.
And Kurt Busch said either the track is getting tighter or we did something to encourage our car getting tighter. He was raising the track bar that last time out. They're going to take a full round of wedge out of the left rear. It'll be 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel again for Kurt Busch, Marty.
Kelly leader Brad Keselowski said the balance was the same on that run. Paul Wolfe said, do you want an adjustment? He said, no, let's let it ride and see what happens here. Once again, no adjustments for that 2 car, 4 Goodyear tires, Dave.
For the first time today, the wedge wrench will go in the rear window of the 4 car. It is just rolling over on the right rear, according to the driver, Mike.
Joey Logano pretty happy with the race car over the course of that run. This time they will not go to work on the chassis. A slight air pressure adjustment, 4 Goodyear tires, and Sunoco race fuel for Logano.
Race off pit road once again won by Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Jamie McMurray, and Harvick in the top 5. Welcome back to NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Martinsville, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech. 2x2 once again. They will line up. Logano and Keselowski, the top 2. Logano winning the race off of pit road. On the outside of row 4 is Martin Truex Jr. So once again, as we scan all 43, we're going to listen in to Martin Truex Jr. as he tries to get to the inside with Clayton Hughes giving him the call from the spotter stand.
20. Get close. Be ready. Ready. Still inside. Still down there. No holes. Down there, no hole. Still inside. Still inside. That 24 jumps you. I may have a hole right here behind him. Come on over, get over, get over, get over. There you go.
Martin Truex Jr. finds a spot behind the 24 of Jeff Gordon. Earlier we were talking about teammates working together with the 24, the 88, the 48. Well, the epitome of that was the way that restart just worked out for Penske. Joey Logano, race leader, chose the outside line. His teammate was on the inside line, and a deal had to have been made because Joey Logano was able to get in front of Brad Keselowski on this restart.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason Brad Keselowski's on the inside of Joey Logano going into turn 1. Joey Logano gave up the preferred line, which is going to guarantee the 2, or not guarantee, but give him a much better option to end up second. For that reason, he does accelerate hard, let the 22 go, clear him going to turn 1. That is great teamwork between drivers, crew chiefs, spotters. It's very complicated to get that set up. They executed it very nicely.
And remember, Joey Logano came on pit road running in 4th. And having that first pit stall enabled him to come out in the position to let those 2 teammates work together. And on top of that, Matt Kenseth, he was running in the front of the pack. They had a bad pit stop, and they restarted all the way back in 16. So those 2 things together enabled the 2 teammates to start on the front row.
And now Brad Keselowski adding a little pressure to the back bumper of Joey Logano.
Jeff's mentioned this a few times already. You see him bump the 22. I want to know what kind of patience Brad Keselowski's going to have. Now here you see Joey Logano move to the inside because he only wants to give up 1 spot. We'll see if Kevin Harvick tries to cross him over and get to the inside of him here down the front stretch.
Didn't have the momentum as they cross the start-finish line. So Keselowski makes the pass with the assistance of Logano moving to the inside for him. That keeps Kevin Harvick back in 3rd, Kurt Busch 4th, Jamie McMurray is 5th.
See those top 5 cars, Jeff, they are not getting off the curb at all. They're not leaving 2 feet of room below them.
You know what's interesting too? Everybody's still entering the corner really low. A lot of times this racetrack, we'll see cars start to the drivers try to keep the car against the wall a long time and then arc down into the corner, never get to the bottom till get to the middle of the corner. Nobody's done that today. That has not seemed to work. Everybody's having to enter really low. That also helps protect your position.
Jeff, you referenced it, the fact that Matt Kenseth fell all the way back on that last pit stop. Let's find out what happened, Marty.
Yeah, came in second. You see him on the left-hand side of your screen. Restarted 18th, trying to make his way back through the field. I talked to Mike Lepp, the pit crew coach at Joe Gibbs Racing. He described it as a front gun failure. Once they came around to the left front tire for Matt Kenseth, that gun stopped rotating. They eventually were able to get the left front off and get a new one on there, but it took a long time. So once again, Matt Kenseth in the position of having to work his way through the field. But we've seen how fast this 20 car is today. He did it once. We'll see if he can do it again.
And interesting that it was a gun failure, because that's one of the things that Joe Gibbs Racing is now known for in the garage. They will make some changes to the guns to give them an advantage, to higher RPMs, help them on pit stops, and potentially, you know, maybe having an issue with that gun hurt the 20 of Matt Kenseth.
Well, it's just like anything mechanical, Rick. These engine builders could build engines to run 2,000 miles, but that's not the goal. The goal is to run just longer than the race and create as much horsepower as possible. The pit guns are the same way. Let's not build an indestructible gun that can last forever and not perform at the highest level. Joe Gibbs Racing has brought that pit gun to a new level on pit road, but perhaps they're getting close on their safety margins as far as repeatability and failures.
Interesting you use the word repeatability. Brad Keselowski has won the championship. It was back in 2012. He'd like to repeat that feat. Points continue to be a big topic for the chase for the Sprint Cup. 6 chase drivers have been able to get out front and lead a lap in this race at Martinsville. Stop in at Sprint. Cut your rate plan in half. Just bring in your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and turn in your old phone. Just moments ago, the 34 and 78 had a bit of an issue on the track.
Is right on the bottom of the racetracks, nowhere he could go. Martin Truex wanted to get as low as he possibly could go, just misjudged it a little bit.
So there's a little contact there. Right behind the 78, the 18 of Brad Keselowski. He continues, or excuse me, the 18 of Kyle Busch continues to talk about the moisture on the racetrack, and especially in turn number 2. This is what he had to say on the radio just moments ago.
The water got me again. Well, it is what it is. We know where it's at, so we'll do the best we can to skirt it. To your mark. See, if you haven't been watching, my car only wraps the curve. I can't do anything else.
So Kyle Busch, one of the chasers, complaining about his line and what he has to run and the possibility of there being a little bit of moisture on the track.
Well, the moisture's there. It's not going anywhere, and that's what the spotter was saying. Hey, look, we know it's there. We're going to have to find a way around it. It's not going to go anywhere, so try to find a way around it. And, of course, Kyle's saying, my car won't work anywhere but on the very bottom of the racetrack. And that's the only, he's got to run right through it. So the only thing you can do is start working on your car and make it where you don't have to run through it. You can see it right there, just on the left. That's right where he's trying to run it.
Chase drivers looking very strong, but also the non-chasers. Jamie McMurray up in the top 5. Marty?
Yeah, Rick, how about McMurray flexing a little muscle here at Martinsville? You know, he has just one top 5 in his last 23 races. That was 4th at Dover a few weeks ago. He would love to change that and not only finish in the top 5 today, but maybe put it in victory lane. He asked a spotter a couple laps ago, remind me every lap. I feel like I'm overdriving every corner. I want to back up my entry. I think that'll help the exit, Dave.
I talked to Kyle Larson just before the drivers' meeting today. I asked him about his car. He wanted to tell me about himself. He said, I have no confidence here, and I'm not sure why. Well, a top 10 qualifying run on Friday and a top 10 run today may put some in this young driver's heart, Kelly.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. knocked out of the chase at Talladega a week ago, and he said, yeah, we're disappointed. We were disappointed last year when we left Talladega, but you know what? We went to Martinsville and sort of surprised ourselves by getting a win there. And when I look back at that video of us jumping up and down on that trailer like a bunch of idiots, well, that's not a team that's too bothered by being knocked out of the chase. They were hoping to get back to victory lane to kind of soften the ease of being out of the championship hunt this time around.
Kelly, Tony Stewart's another driver who celebrated many times here at the Martinsville Speedway, a three-time winner, but he's had his work cut out for him this afternoon. He's in a backup car after wheel hopping in the first practice on Saturday and wrecking his primary, a car that his crew chief Chad Johnson said was purpose-built for this race. He admitted that this car isn't quite as good as the primary. Still, Stewart has made his way from the back, at one point made his way inside the top 15. He's faded a little bit to 20th as he says the tires go away extremely quick. Rick?
Yeah, after this season, one of the legends of the sport, Jeff Gordon, will retire, and Tony Stewart made it known a little earlier in this season that 2016 would be his final season of racing in the Sprint Cup Series. So two big names in the sport back-to-back leaving the sport after 2 years.
And two champions, two guys that came into the sport kind of in a different way. Dirt track racing came in, and really the minute they got here had success, and it will certainly be he's won championships, won races, great race car driver. Like Jamie McMurray, sitting here running fourth. I think this is kind of a homecoming race for his crew chief. Matt McCall, his crew chief, has run a lot of late model races here, and late model stock cars, their biggest race of the year is here at Martinsville. His crew chief had this race won a late model stock car several years ago and got wrecked on the last lap. So he still remembers that, still wants to win this race, and I think winning this race with Jamie McMurray will go a long way to helping heal that.
Jamie McMurray putting on quite a show today. Excellent run as he continues to run in the top 5, currently 4th. Brad Keselowski has now led 58 laps of the 321 that have been run. Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick are just in front of the one of Jamie McMurray. And Jeff Gordon rounding out the top 5. Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Larson, and Earnhardt Jr. the top 8. Tomorrow, Dan Patrick will talk with the Sprint Cup Series race winner right here at Martinsville Speedway. You don't want to miss the Dan Patrick Show. It's weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to noon on NBCSN. Still out front, Brad Keselowski has about an 0.8 of a second lead over Joey Logano. 2 Fords running up front. Then it's Kevin Harvick, Jamie McMurray, and Jeff Gordon. 5 Chevrolets behind Brad Keselowski. Marty?
Hey, Rick, how did the Fontana win earlier this year help Brad Keselowski at Martinsville? I asked Paul Wolf that earlier this week, and he said, you know what? Because we had won Fontana the week before we came to Martinsville, that put us in the chase. So we immediately started experimenting setup-wise. This is one of our toughest racetracks, so we knew we had to do something different setup-wise to be better here for this race. Well, guess what? The setup they put in worked. Brad finished a career-best 2nd here in the spring. So, Steve, sometimes when you win a race early in the season, that allows you to do all kinds of different things. For Brad Keselowski and the 2 car, it certainly helped them at Martinsville, and it may punch their ticket to Homestead.
Absolutely, Marty. In this new chase format, the way it works, so winning you're in the first 26, the earlier you can win a race, the more you're going to start working on the tracks upcoming. And I don't think that's a surprise that we see Brad Keselowski, who won at Fontana. Well, just remember, his teammate Joey Logano won the Daytona 500, race 1. So very early in the season, both Team Penske cars had punched their ticket. They could use all of the races all summer long to build new cars, to experiment, to come with a new approach. It certainly worked for the 22 last round, winning all 3 races. Seems like it's working currently for the 2.
Good strategy for the 2 team as they focus now on this 3rd round and the first race of this 3rd round. Killer, what's going on with the 41?
Well, a lot of teams this weekend saying there was really nothing that they could do through practice on Friday and Saturday that would really match what they would experience on the track here today. And now that we're seeing some long runs and more rubber laid down, it certainly has changed. Here's what Kurt Busch had to say about it.
This is Martinsville now. It's all rubbered in. We're going to no turn in the center, no group leaving.
Some guys have said this track just doesn't take rubber like it used to. It's all about anticipating, isn't it, Steve?
It is. That's what makes this track so different. difficult to adjust for. As we talked at the top of the show, we would really know how this track was going to react around lap 300, around lap 350, where here we are with 165 laps to go. Kurt Busch feels the track is starting to change. Now, it hasn't changed color as much as I've seen in the past, but if he says that the car is getting tight in the middle and loose off, well, Jeff, that sounds like he's at Martinsville for sure.
Yeah, and the other thing is we're on lap 49. That's the longest run of the day. So this track right now, this race right now, kind of has the feel of a long green flag run. We're getting ready to get into a position where these cars haven't been before, see whose car is good on a long run, whose car is not. And that tight in the middle and that loose off, that's not going to get better on a long run.
Has the feel of a long green flag run. That's an interesting feel, since we haven't seen this many laps under green until just now.
And if we do get it, there's always a shift. There's always, when we have that one long green flag run, what happens is there are cars that'll start coming that are better on long runs, and they gain the track position that they then can take advantage of later in the race. And on the opposite of that, we have cars that are running well that start losing those spots. So this is a very important part of the race. With 163 to go, track position is really starting to matter. So this long green flag run, everybody's going to have to stop. If caution comes out, nobody can play pit strategy. So every spot you can gain here is a spot that will help you position toward the end of the race.
Only two of the Chase drivers have not been in front of the Goody's Headache Relief Shot 500 today, that being Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards. Both have been around or had damage to their cars. Carl Edwards now running 19th, and he's 15 spots behind that cut line of 4th. Dave?
Remember earlier he got stacked up in traffic. You see the damage on the nose of that car. But most recently, if we can focus on the left rear of the 19 car, he's saying that feels like it's shaking. Get as good a look as you can at the left rear tire, because it just does not feel good. That was about 10 laps ago. And here's the radio.
Left rear tire feels square. I mean, it's banging all the way down the straightaway. Yep, 10-4. After 40 laps, you say that every run. The whole field's saying the same thing there, bud. Yeah, 10-4. It's just a little different, just so you know, like it's loose or something.
Remember, Carl Edwards is working with a new system of running Martinsville. The Joe Gibbs racing cars are so different, he told me, than what he used to run, that he's adapting all the time. And some of that feel may be something he's adjusting to, but he wants his crew chief, Jeff, to get a really good look at it.
Yeah, I don't know if he hopes they see something or not, because if he sees something, he's got a major issue. You know, ultimately, you just heard his crew chief say, every time we get this far in the run, you start to feel that. So it's probably an air pressure issue where the air is built up in the tires.
That or a wear issue. You know, we talked about the left rear tire wearing. Well, remember, these tires are balanced when they're new. When you start wearing 2-3 millimeters of rubber off all the way around, they can start to get out of balance and definitely lose some grip. As you see the 41, it's an aggressive move in the 11. Kind of moved him up the racetrack a little bit to get underneath him. Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, this is the long run you have to believe that Joey Logano's been waiting for throughout the course of the day. He said earlier this weekend that once he won Charlotte in round 2 of the playoffs and punched his ticket to this round, they already began their focus on this particular racetrack. In his conversations with Todd Gordon, he said, what we're going to concentrate on are long runs. So consequently, during practice yesterday, they made 2 40-lap runs, trying to figure out how to maintain drive off the corner. That has been the biggest concern today. But as the laps wind on and as he goes on a longer run, he feels like this is going to be his strength this afternoon. Hard to believe considering he's led so many laps already.
Yeah, Joe Logano 159 laps led, but currently running second to his teammate Brad Keselowski. Worst position today for the 22, 4th. Brad Keselowski continuing to lead, now has almost a 4-second lead over Joey Logano, but a little bit further back in the pack, Kevin Harvick. Well, as we take a look at Kurt Busch here.
Yeah, Martin Truex Jr. basically, you're going to see this in a short track. He's on the outside of the Chase car in front of him. He needs to go. Trevor Bayne is out there a few laps down. The 78 just has no patience. He goes in, gets him in the left rear bumper right here, pushes him up the racetrack. He needs that lane. He can't lift and let more cars go. He has to get back in line. You see the 20 and the 18 lined up inside of him.
That did not bring out the caution. We stay green. Again, a long green flag run. 68 laps now on this green flag run. As Trevor Bayne is 5 laps down, scored 34th. Brad Keselowski making an impressive run at this time in the race. as we have 145 laps to go.
And we've only run 70 laps under green here. When we talk about a long run, I don't even really consider that a long run for Martinsville until we get up over 100 laps. So with a 4-second lead, now a 5-second lead on Joey Logano. It's an impressive run, but now he has his work cut out for him when he starts to catch guys like the 51 of Allgaier. They're not going to make it easy because they are still in the lead lap. They're going to race the 2 as hard as they can to try to save their lap.
At the top of the hour, Brad Keselowski, race leader at Martinsville, one of the Chase drivers looking to punch his ticket into the championship race. Logano, Gordon, Harvick, all up front, and all have led laps today at Martinsville. And we'd like to welcome the audience that's been watching today's Formula One Mexican Grand Prix on NBC. Congratulations to Nico Rosberg, who won that Grand Prix in Mexico. And now the battle continues from Martinsville. Short track racing for the Sprint Cup Series. Under 142 laps to go. That is inside of a fuel window. We have gone green for 72 laps. The fuel window anywhere from 150 to 160 laps. They may come a little bit earlier than that, though, as tires have been very important here. For an update on a driver who's won here 5 times, Denny Hamlin. Kelly.
And his championship hopes came to an end last week at Talladega after a part failure on that roof hatch. His crew chief Dave Rogers said, yeah, we're down a little bit. Nothing is worse than beating yourself. It's one thing to get beat on track, another when it's self-inflicted. Well, remember this race they're having. He had a pit road speeding violation that they had to serve. Then he spun out, had some damage to the hood of the car that they had to come in and fix. He was way back in the field and has worked his way all the way up into the top 5, running 4th right now. And how good is he? A little bit ago, Kurt Busch in the 41 said, hey, I'm going to follow this 11 through the holes. He's really good on exit.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned this earlier, how you haven't seen the line move around. Well, it's starting to move around for the 11. Watch the 11. He doesn't run right on the curb. He's purposely up off the curb a little bit and gets a straighter shot on exit. That's a little bit different than what we see, especially the 18 of Kyle Busch, who said his car only would roll around the curb. You see right there, that's by choice. He's 3 feet off the curb. His car has to turn really good to run that high in the middle, cut down, and get that straight exit.
Yeah, and the other thing, he has to have really good rear entry grip. So, you know, a lot of times in Martinsville, especially late in the run, you'll get loose getting in the corner. You can't turn the wheel. So to be able to arc the corner like this, he has to have really good rear stability.
Good run for some non-chasers with Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray. McMurray's running 6th. Tony Stewart broke into the top 10. He's running 8th. Matt Kenseth also back up into the top 10, now running 9th. The rest of the top 11, all Chase drivers. For more updates, let's go to Mike Massaro.
And the focus on the 22 team today, Rick, as we noted at the top of the show, is the fact that he's going for a piece of history, if you will. Only 8 drivers in the modern era have ever won 4 races in a row, and that's what Logano has his sights set on today. He's led 159 laps, but still needs to get out in front of his teammate to pick up that 4th consecutive win. The car is not perfect right now. He's been saying it's been getting a little bit more tight as this run's gone on. Marty?
Mike, this is a long run that Jeff Gordon's been waiting on all day long. He's rolled up to the 3rd position now, and he just came on the radio 2 laps ago and told Alan Gustafson, I'm, quote, tiptoeing right now, so taking care of that 24 car. And you know, Jeff said nobody expected us to be alive in this round of the chase. Our team is scrappy, and I like that, Dave.
This morning when I wanted to talk fuel mileage or fuel length of a run with Rodney Childers, his eyes got really big and he said, our tires will never go a full run there. There's extreme wear on the left rear most all weekend long. It's good wear, but to go a full fuel run in the left rear, that would be tough. And it's been, quote, graining all afternoon. Kelly?
It was nothing flashy, just 3 solid top 10 finishes that put Kurt Busch through to the round of 8. His crew chief Tony Gibson saying, hey, we like to stay off the radar. Just stay consistent, run our own race. The worst thing we could do is put a target on ourselves. And we heard Kurt saying he just had no turn through the center, no grip leaving, and he's been struggling with the traffic a little bit. He was hoping to keep up with that 11 of Denny Hamlin to work their way through the left traffic.
Great stuff, guys. And the 2 of Brad Keselowski, we'd mentioned earlier about some guys maybe trying some different lines, trying to find a way around this track, maybe a little more speed. Take a look at what Brad Keselowski did. He kisses the wall there coming off the turn.
It'll be a big issue next week in Texas. So here at Martinsville, That's just one more scratch. One more scratch in the car that you're going to have. Almost like he followed the 13. And as you go back to real time right here, the 19 of Carl Edwards, we've documented some of the troubles he's had today. Now the 2 has the opportunity to put him a lap down.
Marty.
Brad Keselowski just told Paul Wolfe about that incident. He said the right rear, quote, walked on me a little bit. Paul reminded him to use that track bar adjuster inside the car, so getting a little bit free off. And that's what Brad has dealt with for much of the day. But, Jeff, I think you would call that character on your car here at Martinsville. That little scrape, not anything that's going to hurt the car at all, is it?
Well, no, I don't think so. And that's something you start to see later in the run as the tires start to wear out. Again, we haven't been to this point before, lap 85 on this run. So tires are hot, they're worn out. You don't have the grip that you had before. You have to use more racetrack, leaving the exit to keep them spinning the rear tires. You just use a little too much.
With the time change and an overcast day, a little bit darker here in Martinsville as Brad Keselowski continues to lead. We go NASCAR nonstop. Caution has come out for the 12th time at Martinsville. Coming up after the race, 2 hours of post-race coverage. It all starts with NASCAR America post-race show with Chris Devoda, Kyle Petty, and DJ. And then there's plenty more to follow on NBCSN with NASCAR Victory Lap. That's Dave Briggs and Parker Kligerman. That'll be after the post-race show at 6 p.m. tonight. They're getting ready back there on the back stretch. And this is why the caution came out. Take a look. Way up the racetrack, Kyle Fowler in the 32. Into the wall, and the caution comes out. Now, Brad Keselowski, who had almost a 10-second lead over second place, has a lot of room between he and Joey Logano as he comes onto pit road. You're not allowed to catch up.
It's the easiest pit stop they'll make all year. Look at the gap.
Big gap between Keselowski and Joey Logano, a big advantage for that team. Marty.
And Paul Wolfe reminded him, he said, there is no hurry here. Please do not speed coming down pit road. Brad Keselowski said the balance was the same. Do you want any adjustments? Paul Wolfe said. He said no. That's the third straight stop with no adjustments for that 2 car. You see Jeff Gordon right on top of him. The car is a little bit tight for Gordon. He said because he was losing rear grip, he had to add track bar, and that made the car way too tight from the center off air pressure adjustment for him, Mike.
Joey Logano's car also went tight over the course of that run. They make a left rear wedge adjustment. 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco race fuel. Logano now off pit road.
Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano hold their positions on the race off pit road. Sign up for the Quicken Loans Weekly Playoff Grid Challenge for your chance to win weekly prizes, including Roku 3 streaming player. Find out more at NBCSports.com/grid-challenge. The more you play, the more chances you have for the grand prize. Quicken Loans will pay your mortgage for a year. Brad Keselowski able to win the race off of pit road. During that green flag stretch, he was able to put 13 cars a lap down.
Yeah, between that and the gap. I mean, he had almost a 10-second gap at a racetrack where there's 21-second lap times. It was impressive, an impressive run. And with 116 to go, I've seen these races go both ways. I've seen them go green to the finish. I've seen a bunch of short runs to the finish. It's just going to have to see how this one falls.
And they could make it to the finish based upon fuel. They have enough fuel to go all the way to the end now. Won't have to come back to pit road if a caution doesn't come out. Marty?
Well, Rick, a couple of interesting conversations between Brad Keselowski and his spotter, Joey Meyer, under this caution. He asked, because he had such a big lead, he hasn't been running around any of the cars on the lead lap. So he asked Joey Meyer, how's everybody running? Who's good up there? Just to kind of get a feel of how his teammate Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin and those cars were running. And they also told him, because you won the race off pit road, you know what to do when choosing the lane for this restart. He said, copy, I understand what you mean. On the last restart, we saw Logano and his teammate Brad Keselowski work well together, so expect Brad Keselowski to select the outside. Not normally the lane you would select here at Martinsville, and let his teammate Joey Logano take the inside for this restart. Helping your teammate out never hurts, does it, Jeff?
No, and I think that's a wise choice. You can help each other out. You know, you both want the bottom as quick as you can get it, so if you can work that out, then it works for both parties.
Closing in on the final 100 laps of this one from Martinsville. Look back, it took Joey Logano 82 laps to get back out in front after winning the pole early.
Saw Denny Hamlin getting this wreck after a speeding penalty. Had to go all the way to the back of the pack, taking this entire race. He's all the way back up to third now, though.
Yeah, then we saw 2 chasers. You can see the 18 of Kyle Busch get loose in the water, get up and get into the 3, and then the chain reaction, the 19 of Carl Edwards. A lot of damage to the front nose and the hood.
And Brad Keselowski took the lead after Joey Logano let him by. Brad was the faster of the cars as they were closing in on lap 300. Let's listen into the 3 radios we get ready for the restart. Excuse me, the 2 radios we get ready for the restart.
Joey, you standing next to Tab? Yes. Tell him I'll just go about right at the first line. Just let me in from there. Simple.
You're gonna have a plan. Make sure you work it all the way out. You know, he's just to let him know what he wants to do, and you know that's how teamwork's work together.
And once again, Brad Keselowski, the control car, he chose the outside line. Let Logano have the inside line.
Look at Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon has another idea. He knew this was going to happen, and he knows the 2's going to get in, but the 24 is going to try to roll up on the outside of the 22 and gain a position as well.
Will it work out? The 4-time champion Jeff Gordon. He's got Denny Hamlin and that inside line holding his position side by side for third.
Kevin Harvick wants to fill that hole and keep the 24 blocked on the outside. Now the 41 wants to get as close as he can to the 4 to try to keep the 24 from getting in.
Behind him.
And how about that? Joey Logano gets back by Brad Keselowski.
Jeff Gordon got down.
Denny Hamlin holding on to third. Kevin Harvick fourth. Jeff Gordon is fifth. Once again, they freight train around Martinsville. All the chase drivers in the top 10 with the exception of Carl Edwards. Edwards, a lap down, scored 19th. And currently not in a position to get the free pass. Only 3 drivers will be able to advance if they're able to win a race in this third round of the playoffs based upon their wins. So someone will definitely get in based on points, and right now the points are very close.
And if you're Martin Truex Jr. sitting there running 9th, having a good run, you're still 4 down from the cut point. I mean, you're having a nice day. Jeff Gordon getting aggressive right here. You're having a nice day, but it's not good enough. You got to try to work your way back closer to the front.
And here comes Keselowski again. The 2 Penske cars trading the lead again as they have separated themselves from third place Kevin Harvick.
Well, we mentioned, you know, when you look at the points, the 19's 14 points down, and he's in a heavy battle right now for the lucky dog to try to get back on the lead lap and get that position. He has to battle the 42 and the 13. So while we look up here to the front, there's also a battle back in the middle of the pack.
Kyle Larson in the 42, Casey Mears in the 13. A little contact there between Mears and Larson, and it looks like it's going to continue.
And we just mentioned how many cars the 2 car put a lap down onto that last long green flag run. That's really put some fast cars down the lap. AJ Allmendinger, Casey Mears, the 42 of Kyle Larson, all battling for that lucky dog. That's hurting Carl Edwards' opportunity. He doesn't quite have the car to keep up at the moment.
And Casey Mears in front of Kyle Larson for that free pass.
Casey Mears and his team, they've had a strong run all weekend. They've been good in all the practices, qualified well, so they've had a good weekend all the way around.
Denny Hamlin, a 5-time winner here, just behind the 1 of Jamie McMurray. McMurray and Hamlin running 6th and 7th. We look back at the 42 and the 19.
19 trying to defend. The 42 gets all the way down to the bottom, has that really straight entry. Gets loose there, gets up into the 19 a little bit. The 13 of Casey Mears tries to follow him through.
But you said it, these guys right here, this is like for the win. I mean, this gets you back in the lead lap, being the first car lap down, so they have to race accordingly. This is not the situation Carl Edwards wanted to be in. Obviously, racing in 20th position, trying to race 3 or 4 other cars for the lucky dog. This is not how he wanted his chase mid to start.
Yeah, as we go look back here for the lucky dog, you go back to the lead. and we have the two Penske cars. Well, Kevin Harvick has joined the battle. The two Penske cars kind of got out a half a straightaway. We thought it was calm, but for the last 3 laps, Kevin Harvick has been the fastest car on the racetrack, and he's run both Penske cars down.
Kevin Harvick closing the gap now on the Penske cars. It's Brad Keselowski out in front as we go NASCAR nonstop. You're watching NASCAR Sprint Cup Series racing from Martinsville, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech. Top 3 separated themselves now by almost a second from 4th place Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, Joey Logano's in a really tough spot. He has to be on the offense to try to get by the 2, his teammate Brad Keselowski, but he's also on the defense because the 4 Kevin Harvick is looking for room off the corner. He's running a very awkward line of the 22 to try to, you'll see right here, turn underneath the 2, but at the same time keep the 4 behind him.
Yeah, Joey would like to stay out a little bit longer, kind of arc the corner on entry to be able to get a run on his teammate leaving the corner, but if he leaves the open bottom, Harvick's going to take it. So as you said, he's got to run the bottom all the way around the racetrack. When he gets a little bit of a gap, maybe try now to take advantage of it, but otherwise he can't. Marty?
There's a lot to fight for Brad Keselowski right here. Obviously, his teammate behind him, the one who's won the 3 races in a row. Joey looking underneath. Brad trying to hang on to the lead. Brad said he's lost his stopping power right in the middle of the corner. Feels like his brakes aren't working quite as good as they were earlier. You see him point Logano to the inside, Logano to the lead. Brad now going to try and sneak in second, but Harvick's going to close that hole.
And can he seal the deal and hold on to second? Here comes Harvick. Harvick's going to take second away from Keselowski.
Keselowski talking about losing braking power. That's a great disadvantage at Martinsville because if you have to lift just a little bit earlier to be able to get your car where you need it to be in the corners, it really slows you down. You like to be able to be aggressive on the brakes. Brakes make the car feel better. It enables it sets the car on the racetrack, lets you put the car exactly where you want it in the corner. If you don't have that braking pressure, then you have to enter easier and everything gets much more difficult.
Mike.
And it would seem like Joey Logano is picking up where he was earlier in the race. Feels real good about his race car right now, Rick. Just before that last pit stop, he said the car was getting pretty tight. They made a wedge adjustment. He feels like the balance is really good right now. He's got good drive off. His only concern is, as has been the case throughout the day, once he loses the rear tires, once they go away, he feels like he loses a significant amount of speed. Dave?
Mike, this is how the Ford team expects to run here at Martinsville. But remember last fall, he got caught up with Matt Kenseth and finished 33rd. Then it was after that he rattled off 8 straight finishes of first or second, including the win at Homestead that secured the championship for that season. If he can leave here today with a win or even a second or third place finish, what a better jumping off place for Harvick going forward. Marty?
David, after Brad Keselowski fell back from the lead to third, he radioed to Paul Wolfe and he said, "This is the tightest I've been all day long. I don't know what you did, but it feels like you took a bunch of stagger out." Wolfe said, "All I did was put 4 brand new tires on it." Again, that was a 3rd straight stop. The 2 car had made no adjustment to that car. They had a huge lead on that last run, but now struggling with the handling of that race car.
And that's not surprising. That's what's so frustrating in this race. That's what makes Martinsville so difficult. To lead laps through the middle of the race is one thing, but this last 100 laps, not only does the track change, not only do tire sets change, but the pace changes. Here we are, the last 100 laps. There's no more riding around. There's no more saving equipment. Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, and you see right behind Brad Keselowski, the 24, all going at this point as hard as they can to the finish.
And that's funny you mentioned that. I had brought it up earlier that we saw a lap turned early under 20 seconds, and then everyone else was running right around 21 seconds to maybe low 21s, and the caution has come out now.
Yeah, the
Danica Patrick around in turn 4.
Yeah, the pace had picked up though, hadn't it, Rick? The lap time was getting quicker.
They were running 20.5, 20.4 second laps consistently after they'd run 30 laps.
Still lined up, not much of a gap anywhere.
Pace is
83
picking
center of the
up,
backstretch.
and a tough situation for Danica Patrick as she comes down, and the 38 stops right in front of her.
Yeah, Danica.
And now they're not going to stop. It's not over.
Danica's upset at Gilliland from early in the race. Remember, the 2 got together, and Danica tried to pay her back and pay him back rather. And
probably go to the garage, I'd say.
She got the worst of it.
A lot of damage now to the 10. And is it over? If she catches back up to the 38. The 38's going to stay on the track. She is not. She you mentioned earlier in the day, this is the 38 running the 10 all the way up the track, and then Danica into the wall. And now most recently,
it looks like a replay in opposite positions. The 10 gets behind the 38, runs the 38 up the racetrack.
Chases the 38 up the racetrack, and then around she goes. Green light on the pits, and pit road is open, Kelly.
And Kurt Busch has been struggling with both short run speed and long run speed, so they made a wedge adjustment. The last time he came to pit road, he said that was a step in the right direction, so they're going to give him a little bit more along with an air pressure adjustment for tires, Marty.
Kelly, as we reported, Brad Keselowski said that's the tightest he's been all day long. He said it felt like the left front just wasn't working. You're going to see a wedge adjustment here and 4 Goodyear tires, Dave.
Second place, Harvick, middle of your screen, will get a chassis adjustment. He just needs a little bit more turn in the center, Mike.
Just a half a turn of wedge on the right side for Joey Logano, trying to free him up just a little bit more. A 4-tire change in fuel for the 22 as he blasts off pit road.
And a big parking lot jam up right there coming off of pit road.
You left a hole, man, and he closed it. I left a hole.
Race with 100% intensity and go for the win.
The way he races, he's just a dip.
I got a little blood on me right now, and you know I've been roughed up. I'm still here fighting.
NASCAR racing from Texas. It's next week. Sprint Cup Series playoffs continue Sunday. Race coverage presented by Nexium. That begins at 1:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Then the young stars of NASCAR return to the track on Saturday with Xfinity Series racing presented by Honda Power Sports. That one's at 3 p.m. Eastern on NBC.
Texas is such a tough racetrack. It's fast, it's slick, it's rough. And how many fights have we seen at Texas? People getting mad at each other. It brings the emotions out. This time of year, races mean so much. You're trying to win a championship. Can't imagine Sunday will be any different.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas. The drivers' meeting, Eddie Gossage makes a great show. Well, the pressure is going to be bigger too, because with only one more race after that to make to make Homestead.
As we went to commercial break, I mentioned the race off of pit road really wasn't a race. It was who could park first before getting to that commitment line.
Look at everybody. They want to be on the inside line. Everybody just stops. Busch says, "You guys want to stop? I'm going to roll." And through all that, the 11 car.
The 11 car was caught speeding, exiting pit road. Dave.
And it didn't look like much contact from the 41, but the 4 car has left front damage. They almost pitted, but reasoned it's on the splitter through the corners anyway. Hopefully the left front won't go on the 4, but we all know what happened in Chicagoland, Rick.
Absolutely. As they come out of turn 4 and into the restart zone, green flag back in the air. Joey Logano chose the outside line. Teammate Brad Keselowski was on the inside. With just 75 laps to go. Logano, Keselowski, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Jeff Gordon, Kyle Busch, David Reagan, Dale Earnhardt Jr. the top 5. Excuse me, top 10. Just outside the top 10, Jimmy Johnson. Johnson trying to make that outside line work. As is Harvick. Harvick stuck on the outside. McMurray doesn't want to give him the opportunity to get in front of him.
This is why we saw that battle off pit road, trying to get to the odd number. You see how many spots this is going to cost Kevin Harvick.
Kevin should lift right here and get behind the 24. Wasn't able to do it. Needed to make that move much earlier.
Caution in turn 4 for the 23. Jeb Burton around.
Now these cars aren't going to pit, so where were you running? Were you odd or even? Are you going to restart on the inside or the outside?
Jeb Burton scored 4 laps down. And with this caution, which you'll see the reason.
Jeb gets to the 38 a little bit and tries to get slowed down, and Sam Hornish is coming. They make contact. Jeb was running 32nd.
So that's the 14th caution today. We're going to stay NASCAR nonstop We'll line them up 2 by 2 once again and get ready for the restart.
Running fourth here at Martinsville, Kevin Harvick came to pit road to repair that left front fender. He received damage when he was getting off of pit road, and the 41 had contact with him. Remember, they were all jockeying for position to see who could come out on an odd number, but ultimately Harvick was fourth. But don't forget, at Chicagoland, contact with Jimmy Johnson and not pitting sent his car into the wall and ruined the first part of their chase. They didn't want to make the same mistake here. Roddy Childers called him down pit road. Rick?
We saw that pit stop on NASCAR Nonstop. Here's the race off of pit road where the contact was made.
You see Kevin has stopped, and the 41 says, I'm going, and then they just get together. Damage the left front fender a little bit.
And now let's scan all 43 as we focus in on the 24 team. And Eddie DeHaan, we'll see if Eddie can get Jeff Gordon down on that inside line and how quickly he can do it.
And the leader is gone, green. Straddling 2, now just Kurt, still there.
Oh, around goes the 20.
Keep coming, shove through it.
Kids at the round, out in front of the field. The 41 has damage. Joey Logano clears him, but the 2, incredible damage on the 2 of Brad Keselowski as well.
We talked about this, the Penske cars trying to let one another in. Well, if you're back in row 2, how can you try to prevent that? You try to push those guys through 1 and 2, try to push the issue. There was some heavy contact, heavy damage on the 2, really heavy on the 41, and of all people, lucky dog goes to Carl Edwards, the other chase car.
It looked like on the restart, they just didn't do a good job of making the transition. They took off slow. The 22 got at the racetrack. The 2 got in the back of the 22. And they come off the corner, and the 20 and the 2 make contact. It's on from there.
Yeah, the 41, it really has nowhere to go. They spin and catch the 41. He makes heavy contact with the inside wall.
It's coming off turn 2. There's the initial contact.
Look at the 41. It's a big hit. But, you know, this all started on the restart. They just didn't do as good of a job this time of making all the transitions work, and it got everybody checked up.
Outside 24, outside, tight, right there in front of you. Keep coming, straight.
Where the 41 hits, that inside wall, that's actually a new safer barrier there. It used to just be a concrete wall.
So here we go. They're side by side. They take off. The 22 doesn't get quite as good of a run as we've seen. The 2 gets into the back of the 22, gets everybody checked up. Then it gets started from there.
Yeah, the 2 doesn't want to go. He wants to let the 22 in, but the 41 is pushing the issue because that's what he needs to do. He can't let the 2 just sit there and wait. He has to try to push the 2. Kelly, the 41 looks like it has some heavy damage.
Yeah, and they've been tearing apart the sheet metal, trying to check that upper control arm to see if there's any suspension damage there to that right front. Kurt had said, I can steer. It's just not really good. He's been remarkably calm on the radio, just saying, all right, we're okay, we'll get our car checked out. Obviously, they want to continue as much as they can and keep whatever valuable points they can, Marty.
Kelly, some very quick decisions made by Paul Wolfe. They initially brought Brad Keselowski to pit road, then they told him to come back here to the garage area. Brad kept saying, I know I need at least a tie rod on the right front. I have counted 18 people working on this car. You're only seeing a few of them. There are a few at the back running back and forth to the transporter, getting parts and pieces and bringing it out. Several of Joey Logano's crew members are here as well. You can see those Pennzoil uniforms. In fact, Raymond Fox, the car chief for Joey Logano, is here helping out the 2-car team as well. This is all too familiar for the 2 team. Remember last year here at Martinsville, they had a part failure that really sent them sideways in this round of the chase, and that's when they were eliminated going into the Homestead race. So they are all too familiar with this situation. They know how critical it is to get this fixed if they can and get them back out on the racetrack. Caution still on the track, so they're working quickly as they can on this 2-car to get it fixed.
They're 2 laps down. They just went 3 laps down as cars continuing to work their way around the paperclip.
I was questioning the Ford's decision to pit to fix the left front tire, but, you know, good for them. They would have been right in the middle of that. They were running 4th. They decided to come down and fix that fender. And I'll be the first one to admit that definitely at this point looks like a great decision.
And moved Jeff Gordon into second. Big Murray and David Reagan has worked his way up to fourth. Two guys not in the chase are going to have a lot to do with who wins this race.
Let's flash back, Kenta Keselowski, to last year at Charlotte in the fall, and up into the wall. The 20 goes as the 2 tried to get up in that high line. And Matt showing his displeasure with the 2. That was under caution. And then post-race, Brad got into the 20. And the 20 decided to show his displeasure once they got back to the haulers. And now today, as they came out of 2, big contact between the 2 and the 20. The 41 caught up in it.
The
2 is in the garage.
I'd say the 24 was a little bit lucky when the 41 went into turn 3 after that impact. You know he didn't have good steering and was just barely missed at 24.
So the 41 was being held for coming to pit road too soon. Then when they exited pit road, Kurt was speeding to try to get out in front of the pace car, and so they're going to hold him once again. So 2 chasers in Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski. Big implications for the championship. Also, the benefactor of this, Carl Edwards, gets back on the lead lap. They continue to work on the 41 on pit road and continue to work on the 2 in the garage. Every position matters. Alex Kennedy has scored 36th, and he is 10 laps down to Joey Logano. Brad Keselowski now 5 laps down as they go 2 by 2, which means we're about ready to get the restart. The pace will pick up considerably.
So in row 1, we have 2 guys trying to win a championship. In row 2, we have 2 guys needing to win a race to make their year complete. So how much is row 2 going to push the issue right here?
Here's the 22 radio of Joey Logano.
Hey, Joe. Hey, totally up to you, but Jeff said he'll do the same deal that you did with Brad. Just passing a message.
Wonder what the answer to that was. We're about to find out. Back into the restart zone. Green flag back in the air. 57 laps to go from Martinsville.
Jeff Gordon did a great job of getting a run off turn 2. Was able to clear McMurray to get into second.
3 wide as they go into turn 3. Amazingly, they're going to hang on to it. Oh, into the wall goes to 55. The 48 goes into the wall with him. They stay green and pointed in the right direction. 41 on his way back into the garage now, as the 4 of Kevin Harvick has moved up to 9th. Denny Hamlin on the outside of Tony Stewart. Smoke coming out from the front of the 55 of David Reagan. Some contact was made between Reagan and the 48 of Jimmy Johnson.
You see on the left of your screen, the 41 has to go behind the wall to try to make bigger repairs. They couldn't get it repaired on pit road only.
So they're behind the wall. So is Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski rolling back out onto pit road. He will once again try to make time and make laps. Marty?
And Rick, they got the right front fix, and Brad said for some reason the wheel will not turn to the left. They had to jack up the left side of that 2 car. You see him going around pit road. His teammate Joey Logano, the leader, passing him on the racetrack, will go down another lap. They had to get that fixed before they could send Brad Keselowski out. But quick repair for that 2 team. You got to give him credit for that.
Brad Keselowski scored 35th, 9 laps down, just in front of Alex Kennedy. Now he's 10 laps down.
And all this has worked to Jeff Gordon's advantage. He had a bad pit stop, gotten himself back in the pack. Wasn't looking like he was going to have a chance to win this race. All this started, he found a way around the wrecks. Now he's in position to possibly win this race.
And at the top of the show, we talked about non-chasers. Who could spoil the chaser's opportunity? We talked about Dale Earnhardt Jr. maybe Jimmy Johnson, but how about Jamie McMurray in the 1 car? We didn't even really have him listed, and here he is running 3rd, putting pressure on Jeff Gordon.
Jamie McMurray, an impressive run. Sitting 3rd. Kyle Busch behind him in 4th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 5th. Martin Truex Jr. is 6th. Ryan Newman and Casey Kane, 2 non-chasers in the top 10, running 7th and 8th. Kevin Harvick, 9th. Jimmy Johnson is 10th.
It wasn't long ago, Ryan Newman got the free pass for being the first car lap down. He was way down the field, and now he's battling for a top 5.
Under 50 laps to go for Martinsville.
Here comes Kevin Harvick. And all those wrecks played into his favor as well. They would pick up a lot of spots through all that. A good solid run now. It would look like running 8th or 9th wasn't going to be good a little while ago. Now if you run 9th, you're the fifth best chase guy. So what looked bad a little while ago doesn't look so bad anymore.
Logano, Gordon, McMurray, Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Logano has an 0.8 of a second lead over second place Jeff Gordon. And Kenseth cleared by Logano. Maybe no. Kenseth takes him out. Logano into the wall. Caution comes out and the crowd roars.
What's going on down here?
I know we had talked about it after what we saw a couple weeks ago. I was the first to say I never expected that to happen out of the 20 car.
Helmets coming off of the crew members of the 20. Joey Logano stuck in the grass. If the 20 of Matt Kenseth can continue, NASCAR has said he will be parked. Helmet is already off of the 20. And we have to remind you why this is happening.
Stay in the car.
A couple races ago at Kansas, Matt Kenseth was leading. Joey Logano running 2nd. You can tell how the fans feel about it. The red flag is out as they will have to clean the track up. A couple races ago in Kansas, the team told Joey to stay in the car, but obviously Joey out of the car, not able to continue on. In the latter laps of the race at Kansas, Joey Logano had a faster car than Matt Kenseth. He got behind him. He bumped him going into turn 1. He turned Kenseth around. After the race, Kenseth said, "That's not the way I want to be raced. Now I know how he races me." This is what just took place.
And clearly, the 22 is lapping the 20, and 20 obviously intentionally wrecked him. And like what happened the week before was more than 2 weeks before was more than it should have been, and just flat wrecked him.
Matt Kenseth already not having the day that he wanted to have. And the opportunity presented itself at a short track.
Still down there. Still down there. Still down there. Still down there.
Once the favorite for the title, Joey Logano out of his car. Matt Kenseth out of his car. It will be an interesting trip to the infield care center. Listen into the 20 radio.
Wow, man, I guess the right front went down there. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I blew right in front or something.
And the crew of the 22 made their way into their hauler. Again, the two drivers, anytime you get out of your car in the middle of a race, you're required to go to the infield care center. So as we speak, Joey Logano and Matt Kenseth are in the infield care center together. Something you couldn't have expected, but was always a possibility. Payback. The team taking a look underneath the 22. I mentioned the Kansas race.
And Matt was doing all he could to block Joey. He needed to win that race, and when Joey got to him, he felt like he blocked him a little too much, tried to make a move on the outside. Matt blocked him again. They got to turn 1. Joey decided to get into the 20 and on to win the race.
Yeah, then a week later, coming to pit road, Matt thought that the 22 pulled in front of him and brake checked him coming to pit road. It didn't look like that to me. It looked like the 22 was trying to get to pit road himself, but Matt Kenseth had a disagreement on that. And then today, the 20 is being lapped by the 22. The 20 clearly just gets in the left rear quarter panel, drives the 22 into the corner. There was a lot of conversation after Kansas. Would there be retaliation? I was a firm believer that the 20 was going to make it difficult on the 22, but I honestly didn't expect to see this. But without a doubt, Matt Kenseth had another plan here.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see it either. I thought that Matt would, like you, I thought he would make it difficult on Joey for the rest of the year. But I thought Matt would make it difficult on Joey anyway if he was racing for the championship, if he won that race. And, you know, this is part of the NASCAR environment right now that needs to be discussed. I mean, you know, at some point, you know, there has to be an end to intentionally wrecking people. I mean, NASCAR will have to step in at some point and say, you know what, and penalize someone, because the penalties aren't laid out, then it's okay to do it. And, you know, unfortunately, that's where we are right now. I think they're going to have to step in at some point and draw the line.
NASCAR's response to this issue was if the 20 was able to continue on, they were not going to allow him to continue on.
This isn't the first time we've seen this. You know, Matt Kenseth wrecking Joey Logano. This isn't the first incident like this. You know, this goes way back. And, you know, ultimately, I think NASCAR is going to have to take control of it.
Take a look in the garage area. Not a very happy person. That's Joey Logano's dad right there. And Todd Gordon, the crew chief, holding him back. Tempers always get a little more heated when you come to a short track because there is going to be some contact made. This was a situation where these two had a history. NASCAR has just announced over the radio, driver, crew chief, and owner of the 20 have all been called to the NASCAR hauler at the end of this race. The NASCAR officials are all in the control tower now as they will oversee a race. And so that's the reason for post-race, those three being asked to go to the NASCAR hauler. Driver, crew chief, and owner of the 20 have all been invited to the NASCAR hauler at this race's conclusion. Let's go to Mike.
And Rick, as you mentioned, you saw Todd Gordon, the crew chief of the 22, restraining Tom Logano, Joey's father. They had to escort him inside the transporter out of harm's way to try to calm him down a little bit. Now, Todd Gordon, I had a conversation with him this morning, and he was quite clear that they thought this might be a possibility. It seemed as though, talking to the team, they were debriefed as to what to do if this did transpire. Todd Gordon's still trying to calm everybody down. Dave?
Joey Logano has walked out of the infield care center. Joey, are you surprised?
Well, yeah, I thought, you know, I think what happened in Kansas is a completely different deal. You know, we were racing for the win, and, you know, he blocks you a few times, and then, you know, we raced hard, and he blocked me last time, and we spun out. That's what happened there. Here is just a complete coward move, especially for a championship race car driver and race team. Just complete coward. I don't have anything else to say. It's a chicken, you know what, move completely take out the leader when your race is over. And, you know, we'll move on. We're going to work hard, and we're going to get our car back out there, hopefully, and we just got to win.
Joey, between then and now, had you made any attempt at all to try to resolve the situation with Matt?
They won't let me get to him.
10-4. Obviously very disappointed. His chase is in jeopardy now for the championship round, Rick.
And that team is going to work diligently to get him back out on the track with a red flag condition. Joey Logano is still, as the scoring loops go, on the lead lap because the race leader is Jeff Gordon. He's been stopped on the front stretch as the red flag for cleaning up the track continues. The work is not supposed to be done on a car under red flag conditions, but obviously they'll suffer the penalty for work on the red flag or work under the red flag condition because they want to get out losing as few laps as possible.
Yeah, and, you know, not to be lost, what you just said, Jeff Gordon now, he has inherited the lead. He is in position to win this race and have an opportunity to, you know, lock himself into going to Homestead. So all this mayhem and chaos that we've seen over the last several laps, Jeff Gordon's been the huge benefactor of that. Jamie McMurray talked about him before he started on the outside. So all these guys, obviously, not the day they wanted, but it's opened the door for Jeff Gordon to take advantage of it.
Let's take another look. The 20, by the way, Matt Kenseth has been released from the Infield Care Center. Here's what took place. And while this is happening, the 24 goes by and takes the lead. Marty.
Matt Kenseth is out of the Infield Care Center. What is your side of the story, Matt?
Well, it's a really disappointing day. I thought we were going to have a shot at the win there. And, you know, they were jacking up the restart real bad to let each other and his teammates, which that's just fine. And Brad went in there, and I got outside of Joey, and I was going to try to race him for the win, and Brad wiped me out for some reason. I'm not really sure why. And then we had so much damage on the right front. I should have probably just put it in the garage and just got into one and couldn't get it to turn and ran Joey over. So disappointing end for sure.
Joey said it was a complete coward move on your part. Your reaction to that?
I don't have any comments for that.
There will be people who say there was intent involved, even though you said you had a right front go down. What's your comment to those folks?
Well, there's people who say a lot of things. The splitter was trying to take the ground and, you know, got into the corner and, you know, certainly ruined his day. I know what it's like to be that, too. You know, some days you're the bat, some days you're the ball. It's never fun when you're the ball. So, it's like I said, disappointing end to our chase. And, you know, he's got a couple races left. He's got the best car. He might get a couple wins here and still have a shot at it. So, certainly disappointed it came down to that, man. I was out there trying to race hard as I could for Dollar General and try to get the win. I really thought we were going to have a shot for a win before, you know, they got me the first time. So, disappointed to get wiped out twice in the last 4 weeks with a shot to win for sure.
Do you think this is over, or do you see another chapter maybe coming in retribution from him?
I don't know. I feel like every week's a new week. Go out and race, you know, do what you think is right, race as hard as you can, and just take it 1 week at a time. You know, so I don't know. I try to do the best I can. You never like to be in these situations. They really stink, to be honest with you. But sometimes you get put in these spots, and you know, you gotta try to keep respect in the garage area. You can't get yourself ran over. You can't get in the chase next year and get ran over for the same reason. So, like I said, I hate the way it ended. Wish we were out there celebrating or having a shot for the win like we did before we got wrecked. So, disappointing day.
Matt Kenseth, very matter-of-fact about it, Rick, but that is his side of the story.
We've heard both sides now.
Yeah, I think ultimately what he said there at the end was, you know, he felt like if he didn't take a stand, that he would just continue to get run over. He felt like you know, Joey had done something to him. He felt like Brad also had done something to him, and if he didn't make a stand, then it would just happen again. So that was the stand he made.
Yeah, I mean, my disappointment in this whole situation is to try to claim that something happened to either race car. I think in Kansas we saw the 20 block. The 22 decided that blocking was enough. He decided to move the 20. We came here to Martinsville. I don't know about the first crash with the 2, but that situation on the front stretch seemed very clear to me that the 20 decided the 22 wasn't going to win the race. Right, wrong, indifferent, I'm not going to argue that, but I think the intent was clear. Like you said, Jeff, this isn't the first time we've seen it in the NASCAR. It won't be the last time we see it with NASCAR. And move on to Texas. Texas should be pretty exciting next week. I don't think they're going to get any less exciting as we get closer to Homestead.
Now, you do notice that they're not working on that car. We're under a red flag condition. Again, Martinsville Speedway. The first race of round 3 of the playoffs for NASCAR, the Sprint Cup Series. And a lot has happened. We're under a red flag condition, and the reason why we're under this red flag condition is this.
Yeah, there was already a situation. The 20 car was already into a crash. This is the first accident between the 2 and the 20. That really looks like Martinsville to me. They got stacked up. The 2 and the 20 basically made contact. The 41, unfortunately for Kurt Busch, he was the one that got probably the most damage. And then later, we see the 20 laps down with damage, get the 22 in the left rear, drives him off into turn 1. A hard accident. Definitely ends the 22's day.
It's hard impact, you know, not to be lost. This is a big impact right here.
Big hit for both drivers. And so they're cleaning up the racetrack in turns 1 and 2. A lot of fluid put down by both the 20 and the 22. And the red flag has been lifted, the yellow flag is out, and now they go to work on the 22. Red flag was 12 minutes and 46 seconds. You have to remember, because of the time change, the sunset now is 5:24 as we've just reached the top of the hour. We have just 46 laps to go, but it gets dark here. There are no lights at Martinsville. Cars begin to roll, and guess who's out front? Five-time, or looking to be five-time champion, Jeff Gordon. Hasn't won in 2015. He's won at this racetrack 8 times before. Jeff Gordon in a position now where if he can hold on to that lead, he can punch his ticket into the championship round at Homestead. As the cars roll, they'll stack them up 2 by 2. We go NASCAR nonstop. And welcome back. They are coming to pit road. The 24 decided to make his way to pit road. Marty.
Well, Jeff Gordon's been describing his team as scrappy. We'll see how scrappy they are. They're going to fix that left rear fender damage a little bit and a wedge adjustment as well. 4 Goodyear tires for Jeff Gordon. We'll see where this will put him on the restart, Dave.
Kevin Harvick gives up 8th position for 4 fresh Goodyear tires and a little splash of Sunoco fuel to get to his race end, Mike.
Martin Truex on pit road last time down. They loosened him up just a little bit. Just an air pressure adjustment in 4 tires and fuel for the 78.
24 won the race off of pit road. Kyle Busch just behind him. Jamie McMurray, Martin Truex Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr., Casey Kane all coming off of pit road in that order. Okay, guys, I know we were a little surprised when that many cars came to pit road. Too many cars?
I'm shocked. I thought that Jeff Gordon with 16 laps on his tires would have to stay out and keep track position. A.J. Allmendinger decided to stay out with Denny Hamlin. I'm surprised. I truly am surprised. I thought you would have split of the field, maybe 6, 8, 10 cars. Luckily for the 24, most of them pitted. There'll only be 2 cars in front of them. But A.J. Allmendinger only has 10 laps on his tires, Denny Hamlin 15. I think the new tires for Jeff Gordon will be a huge advantage. I think he'll absolutely overtake the 2 in front of him. I think Denny Hamlin's bet was more than 1 car would stay out behind him.
Yeah, I think Denny and his team are very surprised Moore didn't stay out. I'm surprised that Ford didn't stay out. He had pitted after all these guys. There's several guys I thought would stay.
Kyle Larson, too fast, exiting pit road. Marty.
And guys, the thought process for Jeff Gordon and his team, Alan Gustafson just radioed to Jeff Gordon, we're going to have 42 laps to go, or 41 to go when we take the green. Those 4 fresh tires are going to pay dividends. And remember, Gordon has been very good on the long run. They want that fresh rubber, but they want this thing to go green until the end.
Might have to go green. Just to stay light.
Stay light. I was going to say, it's getting dark here at Martinsville. Again, no lights here at the half mile. And the pace car with lights is making its way off of the track. Now, 2 cars that stayed out. Denny Hamlin, A.J. Allmendinger. How long can they hold off guys who came to pit road and got tires? We're about to find out. Out of turn 4. Green flag back in the air.
A.J. Allmendinger is definitely not making it easy on Denny Hamlin with great battle back from the outside.
A little bit of contact as they went through 3 and 4. Now the crossover by the 18 of Kyle Busch. He's made it to the inside and now put Martin Truex Jr. on the outside. A.J. Allmendinger making the move. And Allmendinger out in front of Denny Hamlin.
Remember, A.J. Allmendinger has the freshest tires of the 2 that stayed out. He only has 10 laps on his tires.
Can A.J. Allmendinger hold off the hard-charging 24 of Jeff Gordon? Fresher tires for the 24 on back. How big of a difference will it make as Denny Hamlin now peeks to the inside of A.J. Allmendinger. Allmendinger closes the door on him.
That was an impressive move by the 47 to take the lead from the outside. We have yet to see that happen at all today.
Allmendinger trying to hold him off for 37 more laps. A win a year ago for Allmendinger. Made it into the chase, and then it was impressive. Impressive run for AJ and that team. And now out in front at Martinsville.
So Jeff Gordon starting to take a little bit of a look at Denny Hamlin down the straightaway, just letting Denny know I'm here. I think those tires are going to start to matter here in just a few laps.
And Jeff Gordon's going to have to play defense on Martin Truex Jr. He's right on the 24's bumper.
.35 laps to go for A.J. Allmendinger. Again, the sunset here in Martinsville for just after 5:30.
And he's got a good run right here. He's going to take a look, see if A.J. gives it to him.
Continues to get dark, and the caution has come out. David Ragan in the 55 around in turn 2. They'll restart again. That was the 17th caution. Austin Dillon on the inside of that 55. Contact made and around he went.
Once again, somebody trying to block, getting in the corner. Not work out for him. There's only 34 to go. I mean, Allmendinger's got to feel good about that run. He was able to clear Hamlin. Now he's able to start on the inside. So he's got to be feeling pretty good about his chances. What he wants is what we just saw. He wants to run 6, 7, 8 laps, caution come out. If he can get several opportunities like that, he can win this race. If it goes green, I think it's advantage Jeff Gordon. But several cautions, several short runs, that helps A.J. Allmendinger.
Absolutely. 33 to go. We might only have 15 laps of green flag racing. We've seen that before here. When they stack up, everyone is battling for these points. One spin, that costs 2, 3, 5 laps of yellow. That's just eliminating more opportunities for the 24 and the 78 to use those new tires.
Will anybody make their way onto pit road? It doesn't look like they will. A little bit further down in the field, Jimmy Johnson. He's going to come to pit road, but very lonely. We go NASCAR nonstop. Allmendinger on the inside, Hamlin on the outside. The final 30 laps coming up from Martinsville.
Great start by Allmendinger. Kind of checked everybody up, then got going. Everybody 24 was ready to run on him. Allmendinger did a great job.
Can he hang on to that top spot? Denny Hamlin fighting on the outside. Allmendinger was able to take the lead on the outside from Denny Hamlin. Will Hamlin try the same move? Martin Truex Jr. jumps in behind the 24. Hamlin not able to get in front of the 47. Now he slides back to second.
No, but the fact that Hamlin got to second and not Jeff Gordon is huge for A.J. Allmendinger.
Hamlin not as quick coming out of turn 4, and that allowed the 24 of Jeff Gordon to get to the inside. Now he moves up the track. Jeff Gordon's going to take second away from Hamlin. The pressure tires on the 24. Now, right behind the 47 of Allmendinger.
I believe the 24th with those fresher tires will get to the bumper of the 47, but will he be able to get by? Will he even try to get by and clean, or will he move the 47 right up the track? Remember how much this win means to the 24.
Win and you advance if you're a chase driver. Marty.
And Rick, remember this, in this race last year, Jeff Gordon finished second. Had the rough race at Texas, went to Phoenix and finished second, but didn't make it to the round of 4 at Homestead. You see a battle further back with Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. Jeff Gordon remembers that race and felt like maybe he could have been a little more aggressive with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and your car last year. He doesn't want to finish second today, Steve. He wants that 9th grandfather clock. Kelly?
41 of Kurt Busch back on pit road. They spent significant time back in the garage. They thought they had that suspension fixed on the right front, but apparently they haven't, as they've had to bring him back down. And this is going to be a poor points day for Kurt.
Absolutely. Quite a few chasers that are having tough days today.
I think this will work out for A.J. Allmendinger. He's going to need a caution right now, trapped in 24 of Jeff Gordon on the outside on the restart. That's what he's going to need. You can see Jeff Gordon cutting into the lead. Much fresher tires, faster race car on top of that. So Allmendinger's time is limited.
And with 23 to go, I don't believe he can hold the 24 off, because I don't think the 24 is going to show any patience. As soon as he gets to the bumper of the 47, I think he's got to muscle by.
We'll see how accurate that is. He's to the bumper. The rotor's already glowing on the 24, braking hard.
The 24 has working for him. There's no pressure from behind, so he doesn't have to push the issue right now as he makes the moves.
Here goes Jeff Gordon. Gordon leading at Martinsville.
He did not have to make contact. He was able just to easily pass Allmendinger. He didn't want to make contact. He didn't want to cause a potential issue for himself. So without McMurray putting pressure on Jeff Gordon, it enabled Jeff Gordon just to take his time, methodically make the pass.
And even as bad as A.J. Allmendinger wants to win a race, what a classy move. In all the weeks of retaliation, we've seen cars push on one another. He knew the 24 was faster. The 24 got a run, and the 47 allowed him to race for the win.
Jeff Gordon coming into this race, everyone pointed to Martinsville as his best opportunity to make sure he made it into the championship 4 at season's end. And now Gordon leading with under 20 laps to go at Martinsville. Marty.
And Rick, how about the move a moment ago for Alan Gustafson to bring Jeff Gordon to pit road? 2 of the last 3 stops for this 2014, they had trouble on pit road. Once with the right front, once with the right rear. And remember what Jeff Gordon said pre-race 2, we must have a clean day on pit road. They haven't had that, but Gustafson still believed in his crew, brought him down pit road, and they won that last race off pit road. Steve, sometimes you got to say, guys, you got to deliver for me, and just trust that your guys will do it.
Absolutely, Marty. That's the team that got you here. Everyone makes mistakes. You have to just keep digging, keep trying at it. If the 24 felt like they needed to get tires, they had to put it into the pit crew's hands to do the best job they could.
Now earlier when A.J. Allmendinger was out front, both of you said he needs a caution because he wants to trap Jeff Gordon on the outside line. Now Jeff Gordon doesn't want a caution because Jeff has not notoriously been known for having great restarts.
Hey, let's make this clear. This race isn't over for Jamie McMurray. I mean, we're talking about giving Jeff Gordon this win. Jamie McMurray is about there digging. He's run Jeff Gordon down a little bit, cut into his advantage. So this race is not over.
And the 88, he's moved into 3rd, gotten by Martin Truex Jr.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. up to 3rd. Martin Truex Jr. back to 4th. Still holding on to 5th, A.J. Allmendinger. But out front, 16 laps to go. Jeff Gordon, in his final season, his final Martinsville start. He's won here 8 times before. He's tied with his teammate, Jimmy Johnson. He could break that tie if he's able to hold on for less than 15 laps. But the gap is closing between he and Jamie McMurray.
It's just never been this dark here really at Martinsville before you can really see those front rotors glow on all the lead cars.
Most wins at Martinsville. Jeff Gordon tied for 3rd.
Jamie McMurray ran the fastest lap on the racetrack that lap.
Trevor Bayne in the 6th. You saw sparks flying from out underneath his car. He was able to get off the track. We stay green. Jeff Gordon now 13 laps to go at Martinsville. Jamie McMurray trying to close the gap. It's 0.6 of a second that separate the 2 cars.
Go win this thing, Jamie. You're the best car.
What will Jamie do when he gets to the back bumper of the 24? This is another iconic track that Jamie McMurray hasn't won at. Those are the intervals at the line. Gordon, under 12 laps to go. And it continues to get darker. The reason you can't tell, our cameras have shaders on them. They've opened them up wide so they get as much light in there as possible. But it is getting dark in Martinsville.
You go with the line, spin at the line.
Jamie behind pushing really hard. He's got to be careful not to try to push too hard. He can't afford a mistake with only 10 laps left. If you push too hard in one little slip, that could be the difference. The last time getting into turn 3, got in really deep, wasn't able to keep the car on the bottom.
The gap is closed. Gordon trying to hold off Jamie McMurray. They're under 10 laps to go. McMurray trying a little higher line through 3 and 4.
But Denny Hamlin used that same line early in the race. Try not to be on the race on the bottom of the corner until leaving the corner, enables you to have a good straight exit.
47 of A.J. Allmendinger just moments ago got into the wall. After leading at the restart, Allmendinger trying to hang on to that car for the final laps. McMurray still trying to close the gap between he and Jeff Gordon, but now a slower car in between them. J.J. Yaley in the 26. He moves out of line, allows McMurray to take the curb.
But now Jeff Gordon has some lap cars. He has the 83 and the 2 side by side getting into turn 1.
And around they go in front of him, and the caution will come out. The 9 of Sam Hornish Jr. stopped on the track. We will have a restart.
Now you come get tires. There's 31 laps of these tires. Last year we saw the leaders pit late. The 88, the 24 came and got tires. They passed cars on the first lap. 4 cars stayed out. They passed them all in one set of corners.
If you're Jeff Gordon, this is a no-win situation. If you come to pit road, people stay out. If you don't come to pit road, they'll dive onto pit road to get those tires.
I think Jeff Gordon and his team, they have to stay out. They just have to hope not too many people come behind, because as you said, if he pits, it's easy to make that decision. You have to hope that Jamin McMurray, that Earnhardt Jr., that Truex, that Hamlin, none of those guys pit, so that they, even with fresher tires, they can't get to you. I just don't think the 24 can pit right here.
And a reminder, a week ago, it was, you heard it, just heard him, staying out. A week ago, it was one attempt at a green-white checker. If we get to that, less than 3 laps, we will have 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish at Martinsville. But will we have enough light? That's the question. It's hard to see the cars on the track now. As I mentioned before,
even be running.
Yeah.
Guess who said that, right?
That was Jeff Gordon.
Hey, listen, it is dark. It's not too dark to be running, though. NASCAR can still start this race. It is without a doubt dark, and it's getting to the point. Too many restarts, and it will be an issue, but it's okay right now.
Jeff Gordon trying to win his 9th Martinsville race.
That gives you a good perspective of how dark it really is. As we show a wider angle, how bright the lights are. That's really puts in perspective how dark it is.
Marty.
And guys, I can tell you, I've been here for a few late model races that have finished in much darker conditions than this, so I think the light is fine, although Jeff Gordon thinks that it is too dark to be out here right now. Alan Gustafson asked him, it's going to be a green-white checker, do you have enough? Jeff said, do I really have a choice? But I'm just way tighter than I expected to be right now. This restart, Rick, will be a lot of fun to watch because McMurray is hungry.
Absolutely.
I think the bigger story isn't McMurray on the outside, but Jeff Gordon has the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind him on the inside. What kind of odds? You see the 22, Joey Logano return to the race. We saw the 47 clear the 11 from the outside starting position. Does Jamie McMurray have that? And what kind of incident is the 88 going to have behind him? What kind of play does he have? Is he going to be able to take the 24 3 wide into 1?
Let's listen in on the 24 radio. A little pep talk.
Just focus out front. Get you that restart. Let's get this thing done, man. This is you right here. This is what we wanted. You're the man to do it.
When it comes to drivers at Martinsville, there are very few that you would count on in this situation. One of those is Jeff Gordon. Might not be the best at restarts, but at Martinsville, he has been able to find a way to win multiple times.
He's got the advantage of the inside lane, so as long as he leaves cleanly, he should be in good shape. The key right here, though, you got to remember, these are old tires, a lot of debris on the tires. We haven't had many restarts with this many laps on the tires. They haven't experienced this before today. They're going to have wheel spin taken off, and they're not going to have grip when they get into turn 1.
The scheduled distance, 500 laps. This will be a regular attempt at the restart, not a green-white checker.
Oh, Jamie with a good run off turn 2. That's as good as you could hope for.
Side by side for the lead as they go into 3. area a little higher through 3 and 4. The advantage to the 24. White flag in the air one more time around for Gordon. Jeff Gordon looking for a storybook ending to the 2015 season. Out of 3 and 4, this win's going to punch his ticket to the championship 4. Gordon wins at Martinsville.
Yeah, we're going to Homestead. Yeah, that's how you fight. Hey, boys, that's how you do it. That was huge. That was huge. God, I love you guys. Great job. Way to hang in there. That's what I'm talking about. Fighting and digging, boys. That's what we do.
Been a boisterous crowd.
Burn that baby down! Burn that baby down!
I believe this crowd got what they wanted tonight. A lock for the Hall of Fame. Jeff Gordon, in his final season in the Sprint Cup Series, gets win number 93 on his career, and more importantly, he moves into a position where he could get his 5th championship. Sunoco continues to fuel victories. And Jeff Gordon might be celebrating as much as we've ever seen. Racetrack that has been so good for Rick Hendrick. The winningest team ever at Martinsville, and it's been fueled by that man, Jeff Gordon. 9 wins at this racetrack. Jimmy Johnson smiles and hugs. There's been 93 wins for Jeff Gordon, but maybe none sweeter than this one. In his retirement year, in the round of 8, Martinsville looked to be the best track for Jeff Gordon, and he capitalized tonight. Jeff Gordon will move on to Homestead. He has solidified a spot as one of the 4 drivers that will race for a championship. The clock presentation and victory lane celebration is coming up next. Jeff Gordon wins at Martinsville. In a career that has spanned 23 years, a young Jeff Gordon has 4 championships. If he wants a 5th, he would have to win or point his way in to that championship 4 at season's end. He just won at Martinsville. Now let's go to Victory Lane and Marty Snyder.
I have been around for a lot of Jeff Gordon celebrations, a lot of these Victory Lane interviews, but I have never seen you celebrate like that.
Yeah! We're going to Homestead!
Most meaningful win of your career, Jeff?
It was a joke. I'm coming back next year. I'm just
You're going to unretire now?
No way, man. This is the sweetest, most amazing feeling. I'm so proud of this team. You want to talk about home back emotions? Right now, man, wow, we're going to Homestead, and I can't believe it. What an incredible battle that was. Hell, we just stuck with it all day long, and I was just trying to protect those rear tires. And man, it just all fell in our lap. Obviously, the incident with the 22 and a couple of those other guys, you know, certainly.
Comes Ella with a big hug for Daddy. Very nice. A little confetti there.
Oh my God.
There's Mama and there's Leo.
Squeezing him so hard, I don't think he can breathe. Kind of like me those last couple laps. Yeah, I give a lot of credit to Jamie McMurray, raced me hard and clean there. And oh man, I tell you, it's never over here though. It's just never over. What a battle, and what a team. I tell you what, people don't give this team enough credit, and we seized an opportunity right there. You know, I don't think this opportunity would present itself the next couple weeks. But boy, it sure is nice to have taken advantage of this one, not have to worry about that.
You and I talked a lot over the summer, and you said at times this team was at each other's throats and things weren't going well. Did you really believe when all that was going on, this could happen?
Well, I believe that when we went through those moments and we came through it, and we're still talking to one another, and we're still smiling and communicating and trying to be better, that I knew that if we could get into this position, we could do something special. And man, this has turned into a fairy tale year. I can't believe it. I cannot believe Homestead's going to be an unreal weekend, and we're completely focused now. We talked about this in our meeting before the race, that if we can make it through today and win, all our focus is on that Homestead car. So I don't know who to thank first. Obviously, I need to thank AARP, Member Advantages, and oh my gosh, Pepsi, Exalta, Chevrolet, Panasonic, Valvoline. Gosh, I know I'm missing somebody, but I'm just overwhelmed right now. But man, most of all, just thanks to this team. Rick, thank you, buddy, for believing in me and let me make this my last year. And now we're going to Homestead. Woo!
Hey, real quick, I know you said you're holding back the emotions, but when the kids walk up, does that make it more meaningful that you can celebrate in your final year a win?
Oh my gosh, yes. It means so much to have them here. There's nothing sweeter than you know, going to work. At least I kind of call it work, but and to have them and Ingrid here to you know, experience these moments. I mean, that's what life's all about, and that's what I realized after being in the series for 23 years. It's these moments when you're sharing it with the people that work hard and the people that you care about the most. There's no greater feeling than that.
On the work side, maybe best of all, your final year, you're going to get to battle for a championship at Homestead.
Just like we did today, we're going to grind it out. We're going to give them something to think about. First, we're going to improve our race car a little bit for Homestead, but don't count us out. We proved that this entire chase, and we certainly proved that today. And this team is fired up. We got some momentum now.
Tell me on Friday, our team is scrappy. Well, now this scrappy little team that Jeff Gordon has led will race for a championship in his final season. Rick.
It's been over 5 minutes since he won the race, and the roars continue. And a mob scene at Victory Lane. Are you surprised a guy who has won 93 times, and this one right here might be the biggest celebration we've ever seen out of him?
Well, it just seems only fitting. You know, he announced this was going to be his last year. He's been so competitive for so many years of his career. To be winless to this point, but to continue through the chase as him and Alan Gustafson and this team has done. And then we talked about it. This was his shot. This was his best shot. He's always been a master of this place, coming in here with so many wins. It just seemed to fall his way, and then when the opportunity presented itself, they went out and earned it for the rest of the day today.
Yeah, I think the fact that it hasn't been easy for this team, that makes that this much more rewarding, because you had to fight, you had to struggle, but you came through it, and when the opportunity presented itself, you did execute. And now we don't see people that are retiring. We rarely see them go out on the top. he has a real opportunity now to truly go out on top and leave as a champion.
Remember, at Homestead, the way the chase format is set up, 4 drivers, all with an equal opportunity to win the title, and it's the one who finishes the best is the champion.
And Alan and Jeff have won at Homestead before together, so it's definitely not out of the realm that they could go win that race in a few weeks.
Take a look at the unofficial results. Jeff Gordon gets the win and now advances into the championship 4. Jamie McMurray, Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., all great rebounds on the day to finish in the top 5.
And Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, all those guys 5th, 6th, and 8th. Solid point days for them heading into Texas next week.
How about on page 2, A.J. Allmendinger leading late, such a great opportunity for him. A great run for Justin Allgaier, but how about Carl Edwards? All day long, running 8th of the 8 chase cars, stuck with it, grounded out, got the lap back, ended up 14th.
And how about Cole Witt with the top 20? That's a good run for those guys.
Back a little bit further in the lineup, 21st through 30th, and then 30th through 40th. You see chase drivers Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Joey Logano, all involved in incidents on the track. And now the chase grid. 8 drivers with an opportunity to move forward. One of them has already locked up a spot.
Obviously, Keselowski, Busch, Logano, these guys have work to do. I think already they have to be thinking, all right, we got to go and win races if we're going to advance.
Without a doubt, that's their goal. And you have Kyle Busch, Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick. They might say +9 and +7, but I'm not sure that even feels like a lead with 2 races to go. As crazy as this entire chase has been, we've seen the points shuffle that much in just green-white checkers. Today was no different. I think anyone other than Jeff Gordon still needs to think a win is their best shot.
And things couldn't have been crazier than what we saw here at Martinsville. To break it all down, we go to Krista, Kyle, and DJ.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.